My beloved one, pause everything and let your spirit grow still, for what I am about to reveal reaches into the very depth of who you are. The message you're hearing, only the chosen will understand what this means, is not a phrase but a summons. You are being called into a truth that was hidden in your journey, woven into your wounds, and whispered through every moment you felt set apart. Lean in now, because what follows carries the weight of your becoming, and it is meant for you in this very moment. Listen to me now, because what I am about to say is not for every ear, it is for you, the one who has felt something stirring inside you that you could never fully explain. A quiet pull, a gentle ache, a whisper that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. That whisper is mine. It has followed you into rooms where you smiled on the outside but felt empty within. It has sat with you in the silence of the night when everyone else was asleep and your mind would not rest. It has echoed in the moments when you looked at your life and wondered, is there more than this? You thought it was only your own thoughts, your own emotions, but it was me, speaking softly to a place in you that the noise of this world cannot reach. You see, not everyone hears this whisper. Many live and die wrapped in the loudness of their own desires and fears, never noticing the gentle voice that calls beyond the surface. But you are different, because I myself have stirred your heart. I have reached into places in you that even you cannot fully understand, and I have awakened a sensitivity, a longing, a deep awareness that there is something greater than what your eyes can see. That awareness is not random. It is not the result of your intelligence, your upbringing, or your personality. It is a mark of my choosing. You are not listening to me now by accident. You are here because my whisper has been guiding you, slowly, patiently, even when you did not recognize it as my hand. Remember the times you felt out of place even when everything around you seemed fine. That disconnection was my whisper, telling you that you were not made to settle for a life that ignores me. Remember the moments when you almost gave up, when you almost sank into the darkness of hopelessness, but some strange, quiet strength, kept you going. That something was my whisper, wrapping around your soul, refusing to let you fall beyond reach. I have been closer to you than your breath, calling you not with thunder, but with a voice so gentle it can be missed by the distracted, yet so persistent it cannot be ignored by the chosen. You may ask, why me? Not because you are flawless, not because you have always chosen well, not because you have earned anything, but because I loved you first. I saw you before you knew my name. I watched every tear you hid, every disappointment you buried, every question you pushed down because you didn't know who to ask. I heard it all, and in each of those moments, my whisper spoke. I am here. I am with you. I am not done with you. Even now, as you read these words, something inside you recognizes me, not with your physical ears, but with your spirit. That recognition is the evidence of my whisper at work. Others may read the same words and feel nothing, but you feel them pressing into places you thought were long dead. That is because this is not just language, it is me, reaching for you. Do not ignore this. Lean in. Let the world grow quiet for a moment and notice how your heart responds when I speak. That response, that inner stirring, is the sign that you are not just anyone. You are one I have called, one I have marked, one I am drawing closer. And as you keep listening, you will discover that this whisper you hear is not the beginning of my presence with you. It is simply the moment you finally become aware of how long I have been speaking. You may not realize it yet, but something deep within you began responding to me long before you could interpret what you were sensing. There were moments when your emotions shifted without any clear cause, and your thoughts drifted toward questions you didn't know how to form. That subtle turning wasn't random. It was the beginning of your spirit awakening to my call, like a hidden seed stirring beneath the soil before the first sprout breaks through the surface. You sensed a movement inside you during quiet moments, almost like a gentle current pulling you toward a direction you couldn't name. This was not imagination or coincidence. It was my voice brushing against a part of you that existed before your earliest memories. Even when your mind remained occupied with daily pressures, I was already working within the unseen parts of your being. I drew you to certain places, caused you to pause at unexpected times, and nudged you toward thoughts you normally wouldn't consider. Those small inner shifts were the beginning of a connection that your soul recognized instinctively. As you look back, you will notice how certain choices, longings, and hesitations carried a pattern that only makes sense now. They were signals of a spiritual invitation happening beneath the surface, guiding you toward a greater purpose that had not yet reached your conscious understanding. I did not wait for you to become perfect, ready, or knowledgeable. I reached into your life exactly as you were, shaping a path inside you long before you saw the road under your feet. Your spirit responded to me even on days when you believed you were far from anything sacred. That inner response was the sign of a unique connection that existed before your awareness, and it continues to lead you into depths you have not yet explored. This quiet turning within you is the evidence that my call began long before your understanding caught up, and now that you are becoming aware of it, you will begin to see how much has been unfolding in your life long before you had language for it. There is something unmistakable about you, something that shows you have been touched by my presence in ways you did not fully comprehend at the time. Even before you recognized what was happening, your heart leaned toward moments of quiet longing, reflection, or searching. This inclination did come from your personality or upbringing. It came from me placing a mark within you that responds to my presence the way metal responds to a magnet. You might recall situations where others seemed content with the surface of life while you sensed a deeper layer underneath everything. That sensitivity was not an accident. It revealed the imprint of my presence resting on your spirit. You were drawn toward certain truths before you could explain why they resonated with you so strongly. You noticed beauty in moments that others ignored, and you felt a heaviness in situations that seemed harmless on the outside. This inner awareness marked you as someone who recognizes me even when I move quietly. You felt my presence during unexpected times, while standing alone in a room, while listening to a psalm, while staring at the sky, or during a moment of sudden clarity. Each encounter was subtle yet powerful, a thread weaving your heart toward mine. My presence did not overwhelm you. It guided you with a gentle pull that shaped the course of your decisions, even when you didn't realize how deeply it was influencing your life. Those who carry this mark find themselves drawn toward purpose, justice, compassion, and truth, not because the world teaches it, but because something within them refuses to settle for less. This mark is the quiet evidence of my hand resting upon you, guiding you through seasons where you felt alone, misunderstood, or out of place. These experiences weren't signs of isolation. They were signs that you were being drawn by something holy, something beyond the ordinary, something that set you apart even when you didn't understand why. And now, as your awareness grows, so does your ability to recognize that my presence has never left you. It has been shaping you, calling you, and aligning you with a destiny that only those marked by me can fully step into. There is a reason your heart could never stay silent for long, a reason you felt an inner stirring even during seasons when everything around you seemed outwardly stable. That restlessness was not a flaw or weakness. It was a signal from me, intentionally placed within you to push you beyond the limits of a life that would have kept you stagnant. You felt that stirring during moments when you tried to convince yourself that you were satisfied, yet something deeper within you refused to accept a life that lacked meaning. The world may have encouraged you to settle, to remain comfortable, to ignore the inner voice urging you toward change. But the restlessness continued because it was rooted in something spiritual. It was my way of guiding you when you couldn't yet see where you were being led. You noticed it during transitions, when familiar routines suddenly felt dull or incomplete. You sensed it when your heart longed for depth, connection, or purpose that no ordinary achievement could fulfill. This restlessness was not agitation, it was awakening. It told you that you were meant for more than survival or routine. It pushed you away from places that would have diminished your potential and prepared you to receive things you were not yet ready to understand. At times, you may have tried to quiet it, thinking it was simply a personal dissatisfaction, but it was actually a form of divine guidance. I stirred your spirit so you wouldn't lose yourself in environments that could not nourish who you were created to become. This restlessness protected you from comfort that leads to complacency and invitations that would have taken you far from your true path. Every moment of unease was a reminder that you weren't designed to blend in with the ordinary. You carry a purpose that calls you into movement, growth, and transformation. You carry a spark that cannot stay dormant. And now, as you continue to awaken, you will begin to understand that the restlessness you once questioned was one of the clearest signs that my hand has always been guiding you toward the life you were meant to live. You may not have recognized it at the time, but a subtle disturbance began moving through your inner world long before the changes in your outer life became visible. It came in the form of thoughts that surprised you, emotions that surfaced without warning, and a feeling that something within you was shifting in ways you couldn't fully describe. This disturbance wasn't meant to unsettle you for the sake of discomfort. It was designed to nudge you out of the places where you had grown too used to living on the surface of your own existence. You were never meant to stay numb, and the gentle stirring you felt was my way of waking parts of you that had grown silent under the weight of daily life, disappointments, and discouragement. The shift began quietly, almost imperceptibly. You noticed moments when familiar routines suddenly felt unfamiliar, or when conversations you once tolerated began to feel empty, or when environments that used to comfort you no longer held the same warmth. Those experiences weren't coincidences. They were signs of an internal movement prompted by my hand. I touched your soul with a soft disruption because I knew that a loud awakening would overwhelm you. So I chose gentleness, not to spare you from growth, but to guide you into it with care. Even your frustrations were signals that something new was beginning. When you felt the urge to ask deeper questions, when your heart tugged you toward unexplored longings, when your inner world felt as though it had been stirred from sleep, that was my intentional work. I was creating space inside you for the person you are becoming. You were not breaking down, you were expanding. You were not losing stability, you were gaining awareness. Every small shift in your perspective was part of a greater transformation. What felt like restlessness or confusion was actually your soul adjusting to a higher level of clarity. You were being awakened to truths about yourself, your purpose, and your path that had been waiting beneath layers of routine and noise. This gentle disturbance was a sacred beginning, one that signaled the presence of something profound unfolding inside you. As you continue to lean into this awakening, you will notice that the very things that once unsettled you now guide you toward the life you were meant to embrace. You are discovering that the disturbance you once feared was not a threat, but a divine invitation into a deeper understanding of who you are and where you are being led. There came a moment, even if you didn't notice it immediately, when your heart began to shift long before anything around you started to change. It happened quietly, like the early stages of dawn that brighten the horizon before the sun becomes visible. This inner turning did not require your permission, because it emerged from a place within you that responds to truth instinctively, even when your mind struggles to catch up. You may recall a time when your interests, desires, or values started to realign in ways that pushed you toward a deeper awareness of yourself. Perhaps you found yourself drawn toward things that brought peace, or you became unsettled by things that once felt normal. That change did not originate from uncertainty or instability. It came from a transformation unfolding inside your heart, one I initiated with careful intention. You were being prepared for a new chapter long before the chapter itself appeared. Your heart needed to soften in certain areas, strengthen in others, and open in ways that could support the direction you are now moving toward. Even in moments of confusion, you sensed that your reactions were shifting. You responded differently to situations that once irritated or discouraged you. You found yourself thinking more deeply, feeling more intensely, and noticing details that had escaped your awareness before. The turning of your heart laid the foundation for the turning of your life. Change always begins within long before it expresses itself in your surroundings. Your circumstances didn't suddenly transform. Your perception transformed first. You began to see possibilities where you once saw limitations, strength where you once saw weakness, purpose where you once saw coincidence. This was evidence that your heart had already begun to move. I guided the process quietly, because I wanted you to grow in a way that felt natural rather than forced. A life cannot move where the heart has not gone first. That is why your heart shifted ahead of your decisions, your relationships, your opportunities, and your steps. Now, as you look at your life, you can recognize how this interior shift prepared you for every transition that followed. You are beginning to understand that transformation is not a sudden event. It is a gradual turning that begins in the unseen and ultimately reshapes everything you touch. Your heart turned first, and because of that, the rest of your life is now turning with it. There is something familiar about the way my words reach you, something that stirs memories you cannot fully trace. This familiarity is not accidental. You have heard me before, in ways that didn't fit language or form but still touched you with unmistakable clarity. My voice has been present in your life far longer than your conscious awareness of me. It emerged in childhood moments when you felt safe for reasons you couldn't explain, or during quiet times when you sensed a comfort that seemed to appear out of nowhere. It echoed in your thoughts during seasons when you needed guidance, but didn't know where to seek it. Even when you lacked spiritual understanding, your soul still recognized me. You felt a pull, a warmth, or a sudden insight that arrived at just the right moment. Those experiences weren't imagination. They were early glimpses of my voice, reaching you in ways subtle enough not to overwhelm you, yet strong enough to leave an imprint. Over time, life responsibilities, disappointments, and distractions may have made my voice seem distant, yet it never left you. It continued to speak through moments of unexpected clarity, through the conviction that guided your choices, through the peace that steadied you when chaos surrounded you. You recognized me then, even if you didn't yet know how to identify what you were sensing. The familiarity you feel now is the result of a connection that has existed since the earliest chapters of your life. The voice you are hearing today is the same voice that lifted you from despair when you thought you wouldn't make it through, the same voice that whispered courage into your heart when you were afraid, the same voice that urged you toward kindness, truth, and humility even when no one else encouraged those things in you. My voice has always reached for you, not through pressure or fear, but through gentle guidance shaped uniquely for who you are. The reason you feel a deep resonance now is because this voice is not new to you. It is simply becoming clearer. As your awareness sharpens, you are beginning to understand how often I have spoken to you throughout your life. The familiarity is the evidence that you were never walking alone. It is also a sign that you are entering a season in which recognizing my voice will bring clarity, direction, and confidence in ways you never anticipated. You may not realize how many times you tried to distance yourself from anything sacred, hoping that moving on with your life would quiet whatever kept pulling at your spirit. Yet something always brought you back in ways you couldn't explain. Even during seasons when your priorities shifted or when pain made you question everything you believed, an unseen force kept returning your attention toward a presence you couldn't quite escape. This wasn't pressure or fear. It was a steady connection woven into you long before you had the words to describe it. Every time you attempted to silence the longing within you, your heart eventually found its way back to an awareness that refused to disappear. You might remember moments when you pushed away uncomfortable truths, or when you became convinced that life on your own terms would be simpler. Yet the quiet pull persisted. You were never meant to separate yourself from what speaks directly to your soul. Each attempt to step away only revealed how deeply you were tethered to something greater than your own desires. These moments weren't signs of failure or inconsistency. They were reminders of how deeply you are known and understood. When confusion clouded your thoughts or disappointment tried to convince you that you were alone, subtle inner signals guided you back toward clarity. You may have mistaken these signals for coincidence, intuition, or emotional sensitivity, but they were expressions of a bond that has always been part of your identity. This is why despair never had the final word in your life, why emptiness never became permanent, and why numbness could not settle into your spirit. Something resilient within you refused to break, even when your circumstances seemed overwhelming. That resilience wasn't something you created. It was something placed within you, acting as a compass that consistently turned you toward truth. Every return, no matter how small, reinforced a connection that has followed you across seasons, environments, and stages of growth. You never walked so far that you were unreachable. You never drifted so deeply that you became lost. Even in the places where you tried to forget what once mattered to you, your spirit remembered, and that memory carried you back to a path you were always meant to walk. The pull you feel is not obligation. It is recognition. It is your inner world responding to the presence that has been with you through every change, every struggle, and every attempt to start over. You could never walk away because something in you has always belonged to something beyond the temporary, and the truth is becoming clearer with every step you take. There were seasons in your life when you felt pressure building inside you, weighing on your chest, tightening your thoughts, and creating a heaviness you didn't know how to explain. You might have assumed it was stress or emotional overload, but the reality is that this weight carried purpose. It wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to draw your attention to something your heart needed to confront. You felt it when your choices were misaligned with your deeper values, when your surroundings no longer matched your growth, or when circumstances pushed you to consider what you had ignored for too long. This weight functioned as a reminder that your spirit could not remain settled in spaces that were shrinking you. It signaled that your inner world needed room to breathe, to stretch, to expand beyond the limitations you had placed upon yourself. You may recall moments when a decision felt wrong even before the consequences appeared, or when silence felt louder than noise, urging you to pause and examine what you were becoming. Attention was not punishment, it was guidance. It pressed against you because something inside you was out of alignment, and the discomfort was meant to bring awareness. When you carried unresolved burdens, that heaviness stirred your attention and pushed you toward healing. When you drifted too far from what nurtures your spirit, the weight brought you back to truth. When you ignored signs that you needed rest, reflection, or change, the pressure reminded you that your well-being mattered. This experience shaped the depth of your character, strengthened your discernment, and taught you to recognize when something within you needed care. It also protected you from paths that would have drained your energy and from environments that would have chipped away at your identity. Without that weight, you might have settled for less, avoided necessary change, or ignored subtle warnings. Instead, the heaviness prompted you to make choices that brought clarity and movement. Now, as you reflect on that weight, you can see how it guided you rather than harmed you. It functioned as a signal of my presence working within your conscience, nudging you toward honesty, responsibility, and growth. You are learning to understand the difference between destructive pressure and purposeful tension, and that understanding is shaping you into someone more aware, more grounded, and more capable of recognizing when your spirit is calling for transformation. In the moments when life wounded you most deeply, you may have suspected that suffering meant abandonment or rejection, yet your pain served a purpose far beyond the hurt you felt at the time. The difficult experiences you lived through were not signs that you were being punished. They were shaping forces that strengthen your capacity for empathy, courage, and resilience. Pain has a way of uncovering truths that comfort cannot reach. It exposes what needs healing, reveals what needs release, and teaches you what your spirit can endure. You encountered losses, disappointments, and betrayals that sent shockwaves through your emotional world, yet each of these experiences carved out places within you that now hold wisdom and depth. They stripped away illusions that would have kept you stagnant and taught you to depend on strength you didn't know you possessed. When you felt broken, you were being positioned to rebuild with clarity. When your heart felt shattered, it was being opened to receive new understanding. When circumstances pushed you beyond your limits, they revealed that your endurance exceeded what you believed about yourself. These seasons did not come to destroy you. They came to dismantle parts of your life that could not carry you into your future. You might remember moments when the pain felt heavy enough to silence your hope, but even in those times, something within you refused to collapse completely. That inner resilience was proof that you were being prepared, not discarded. Your pain trained your eyes to see what truly matters, trained your heart to notice what others overlook, and trained your mind to recognize the subtle ways growth emerges through adversity. There are aspects of your strength, confidence, and clarity that could have formed only through the trials you endured. Now, as you look back, you can trace how each wound contributed to your transformation. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are defined by the courage that carried you through. The preparation you gained from pain has positioned you to walk forward with a deeper understanding of your purpose, a clearer sense of your identity, and a stronger awareness of the path that lies before you. You may not realize how many times circumstances shifted in your favor without your awareness, but there have been countless moments when unseen protection surrounded you long before you sensed danger. Certain paths you almost stepped on, certain decisions you nearly made, and certain people you almost trusted would have led you into harm far greater than you could have borne at that time. These near misses shaped the quiet framework that kept your life from veering into places that would have drained your strength or distorted your perspective. Even when you thought you were acting alone, layers of unseen guidance supported you, shaping the boundaries around your steps with care. You might recall memories that now feel strangely fortunate. Times you left a place earlier than planned, times you hesitated for reasons you couldn't explain, or moments when you changed your mind at the last second. Those hesitations carried purpose because they redirected your path away from situations that were not meant for you. This protection didn't arrive in loud displays or dramatic signs. It moved with subtle precision, woven into your intuition, timing, and circumstances in ways that preserved your potential. There were also seasons when disappointment protected you. Opportunities that slipped through your fingers or relationships that ended abruptly were often safeguards disguised as loss. When you felt blocked or delayed, you were being shielded from consequences you could not foresee. Your frustration in those moments came from expecting one outcome while being preserved for something far better. You might look back now and see how your life would have unfolded differently if every desire had been granted exactly when you wanted it. Some paths that once seemed promising would have exhausted you. Some connections you wanted to keep would have damaged your confidence. Some dreams you once pursued would have demanded sacrifices that would have drained the core of who you are. The discomfort you felt in those seasons was merely the growing pain of being directed towards something more aligned with your true purpose. Your protection extended even into emotional spaces. Conversations you avoided, invitations you declined, or environments you grew uneasy around were early signs that your spirit sensed something your mind had not yet processed. These instincts were not fear, they were guardianship. You were being preserved for a future that required clarity, strength, and wisdom. Even the times you stumbled or made choices you later regretted were surrounded by grace that kept your life from unraveling. You grew through those experiences without being overwhelmed by them, and the lessons they brought now shape the way you navigate your journey with greater maturity and insight. This protection has never disappeared. It continues to accompany you, adjusting your path, aligning your steps, and ensuring that no setback permanently steals what belongs to your destiny. As you become more aware of it, you will begin to recognize how many moments in your story were shaped by more than coincidence. Your life has been guided with a level of care more profound than you ever realized, and that guidance is still unfolding in ways that will become clearer with time. There has always been a subtle ache within you, a longing that surfaced in quiet moments when you allowed yourself to feel beyond the surface of life. This longing wasn't rooted in dissatisfaction or restlessness. It came from a deeper part of you that knew there was more to your existence than the routines and expectations placed upon you. You felt it when you paused to reflect on your choices, when you questioned whether your life reflected your true purpose, or when your heart sensed that the world around you did not fully match the world you envisioned within yourself. This internal pull was not a sign of inadequacy. It was an invitation toward growth. It nudged you toward experiences that expanded your understanding and opened your eyes to possibilities you had not previously considered. You might recall times when you pursued comfort, yet comfort left you unmoved. You sought success, yet success alone didn't satisfy you. These realizations were not failures. They were revelations that you were not designed to settle for life devoid of depth. Your longing formed a quiet bridge between who you were and who you were becoming. It pushed you to ask questions that others ignored and to seek meaning in moments that others overlooked. You found yourself drawn to conversations, books, environments, and people that stirred something deeper within you. Even when you tried to explain this desire, words felt inadequate. That is because this longing came from a place beyond surface expression, a place within you that responds to truth instinctively. It compelled you to explore parts of your identity that had been waiting for acknowledgement. There were times when you tried to suppress it, believing it was impractical or burdensome, but it always resurfaced, reminding you that your spirit hungered for authenticity and purpose. You were never meant to drift through life without a sense of connection to something greater than routine. His longing also illuminated your resilience and kept you searching even when you felt weary. It kept you moving even when circumstances felt heavy. It sparked new dreams as old ones faded, and it breathed new life into your perspective when everything around you felt stagnant. This desire for more did not criticize your present. It simply recognized that your journey contains layers you have not yet explored. As you continue to listen to this inner call, you will discover that it guides you toward spaces that nurture your growth and align with your deeper values. It will lead you toward relationships that encourage your strength, opportunities that draw out your potential, and choices that reflect your most authentic self. The longing you carry is not a void. It is a sign of your unfolding destiny, urging you to step into a fuller, richer understanding of who you are and what your life is capable of becoming. There were many moments when you tried to embrace the world's promises, believing that achievements, possessions, or recognition would finally bring the fulfillment you sought. Yet the satisfaction never lasted. Even during times when everything seemed to align in your favor, you felt a quiet emptiness beneath the surface, as though something essential was still missing. This wasn't a flaw in your character. It was evidence that your heart was not designed to be fulfilled by temporary experiences alone. The world offered moments of excitement, but they faded. It offered moments of belonging, yet they fluctuated. It offered moments of pleasure, yet they eventually lost their impact. This pattern revealed that your deeper longings could not be met by what was fleeting. You might recall seasons when you reached milestones that once thrilled you, only to find yourself surprisingly unchanged inside. The applause faded quickly. The accomplishments became memories. The validation fell shallow compared to the depth of connection your spirit craved. The world's inability to satisfy you shaped a quiet wisdom within your soul. It helped you recognize the difference between temporary comfort and lasting fulfillment. It taught you to listen to your inner world rather than basing your worth on external achievements. This awareness guided you away from illusions that once captivated you and opened a path toward authenticity. You began to notice that the moments that truly nourished you were those rooted in meaning, compassion, integrity, and genuine connection. These experiences awakened something stable and enduring within you, something the world's hollow promises could never replicate. Your dissatisfaction was not ingratitude, it was alignment. It signaled that your spirit sought depth, truth, and purpose beyond superficial pursuits. You were also being protected from losing yourself in the pursuit of things that could never bring lasting peace. If the world had satisfied you fully, you might have settled for less than what you were meant to experience. You might have mistaken temporary success for genuine transformation or temporary pleasure for true fulfillment. Instead, the emptiness you felt after chasing what others chased became a compass pointing you towards something richer. You began to understand that fulfillment is not found in what you acquire but in what resonates with who you truly are. You discovered that meaning comes from connection, purpose, and growth rather than from external validation. As this understanding deepens, you will see that your dissatisfaction was a quiet form of guidance. It prevented you from being trapped in illusions and drew you toward a life that reflects your authentic identity. The world could never satisfy you because you were not created to live a shallow existence. You were drawn to something deeper from the very beginning, and every moment of emptiness served as a reminder that your soul recognizes a truth greater than anything the world can offer. You may remember seasons when the silence around you felt heavier than anything you had ever carried, as if the world had quietly stepped away and left you standing alone without explanation. That isolation didn't come from circumstances alone. It carried a deeper intention beneath the surface. There were times when people you trusted drifted from your life, relationships faded without clear reasons, or familiar environments no longer felt like home. These shifts created spaces that felt uncomfortable and confusing, stirring questions about your value and direction. Yet beneath all the uncertainty, a quiet separation was taking place, one arranged with precision to move you away from influences that could not accompany you into the next stage of your growth. You were not being abandoned, you were being recentered. The distance between you and others formed a protective boundary that allowed you to hear your own thoughts, desires, and convictions without interference. This separation gave you room to notice what truly mattered to you. When noise faded and distractions weakened, you discovered aspects of yourself that had been overshadowed by expectations and responsibilities. The quiet stripped away the clutter that had built up around your identity, revealing strengths and insights that had long been buried. There were moments when loneliness felt sharp enough to make you question whether something was wrong with you, but each of those moments brought clarity you could not have gained through comfort alone. Isolation revealed your resilience. It showed you how deeply you could endure, how patiently you could wait, and how boldly you could question your direction. It also trained your heart to listen with more nuance, to feel with more depth, and to recognize when something inside you needed change. Divine separation often feels like loss because it removes what has become familiar. Yet what feels like deprivation is often strategic preparation, guiding you toward new relationships, opportunities, and environments capable of supporting your growth. You were being pulled away from patterns that would have limited you, even if those patterns once felt safe. Certain voices no longer had access to your inner world because they would have diluted your sense of purpose. Certain environments that once energized you became places where your spirit felt constricted because you had outgrown them. This separation was not rejection, it was realignment. Now that you are beginning to understand this, the loneliness you once feared no longer defines you. You can see how the quiet clarified your inner vision. You can see how distance taught you to value connection more intentionally. You can see how solitude strengthened your inner foundation, making you less dependent on the reassurance of others and more grounded in your own identity. What felt like withdrawal was actually an invitation into a deeper awareness. Your separation was purposeful, necessary, and far more loving than you realized in the moment. It carved space for the person you are becoming, and it prepared you to receive what is ahead with a clarity and maturity you could not have developed any other way. There were times when shadows surrounded you so completely that you questioned whether light would ever return. Yet even in those moments of heaviness, something moved quietly beside you, guiding each step you took. You may not have sensed it clearly while you were in the midst of uncertainty, but now you can look back and see the subtle patterns that carried you forward when you felt too weary to continue. You survived situations that should have broken your spirit, not because you had all the answers, but because a strength beyond your understanding held you together. Darkness has a way of distorting perspective, making every obstacle feel larger, every disappointment feel permanent, and every fear feel louder. Yet in the middle of that distortion, you were given flashes of clarity that helped you endure. You made choices that seemed small at the time but were essential for your survival. You held on to hope even when it felt fragile. You kept moving, sometimes slowly, because something deep within you refused to collapse. During your darkest moments, guidance came in forms you did not immediately recognize. A sudden moment of insight, a conversation that shifted your thinking, an unexpected opportunity, a pause that prevented a costly decision. These moments were not random. They were markers of a presence that refused to let you lose your way. Even when you felt abandoned, something stable held you from falling further. You may remember nights when your thoughts spiraled, yet you woke with a sense of clarity you hadn't anticipated. You may recall seasons when you felt overwhelmed, yet somehow found enough strength to take the next step. These subtle shifts were signs that the darkness could not overpower you. Your vision sharpened because of what you walked through. You learned to discern between temporary discomfort and genuine danger. You learned to recognize the difference between fear-driven choices and wise decisions. The darkness strengthened your understanding of your own endurance. It revealed how deeply you can feel without being destroyed. It expanded your empathy, teaching you how to support others because you understand what they face. It also revealed that you are never as alone as you imagine in difficult moments. Now that you have emerged from parts of the darkness you once feared, you can see how much was unfolding beneath the surface. Your struggles were not signs of weakness. They were proof of your strength. What felt like confusion at the time now appears as growth. What felt like distance now appears as guidance. You were being carried through terrain you didn't know how to navigate. The hand that guided you never left you, not for a moment. And as you continue forward, you will recognize that same guidance in new forms, leading you with the same quiet certainty that sustained you through seasons that once seemed impossible. There are memories stored within you that carry more weight than others, Moments when everything seemed to collapse at once, when your strength faltered, when your heart felt overwhelmed, and when circumstances left you teetering at the edge of despair. Yet somehow, even in those difficult moments, you remained standing. The stability you found was surprising, almost unnatural, as if something beyond your own willpower steadied your steps. You might remember decisions that could have led to irreversible consequences, yet you turned away at the last moment without fully understanding why. You might recall times when the pressure around you grew so intense that logic suggested you should have broken, yet you endured with a resilience you didn't know you possessed. You were protected in ways that went far beyond coincidence. In certain situations, the collapse you feared never arrived because invisible support surrounded you. Unexpected strength rose within you when you believed you had none left. People appeared in your life with timing that felt almost impossible to explain. Sudden insights redirected your choices. Opportunities opened at the exact moment you considered giving up. These turning points were more than luck. They were evidence of intervention woven into your journey. When you thought you were standing by your own might, you were actually being held by a force that refused to let you fall beyond recovery. Some of the most powerful moments of preservation happened in silence, when no one around you recognized the depth of your struggle. You carried burdens quietly, thinking no one saw the weight you bore, yet something lifted pieces of it before they crushed your spirit. You were steadied emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in ways you often understood only in hindsight. Even your mistakes did not derail your destiny because grace concealed you from consequences that would have altered your path permanently. There were doors you almost walked through that would have led you into seasons of exhaustion or regret, yet something inside you restrained your steps. That inner restraint was not weakness, it was protection. Acknowledging these moments doesn't diminish the pain you experienced. It illuminates the strength that kept you from being consumed by it. You endured storms that were far stronger than they appeared on the outside. You carried responsibilities that stretched you. You navigated losses that could have hardened your heart, yet you emerged with compassion intact. Each moment of preservation reveals something essential about your identity. There is a resilience inside you that cannot be fully explained by circumstances alone. You have been supported, preserved, and upheld in ways that confirm that your story has a purpose. As you move forward, remember the moments when you should have fallen but didn't. They are reminders that your journey is guided, protected, and shaped with intention. They reveal that even in your most vulnerable seasons, you were never left to face life unprepared. And the same strength that sustained you then continues to walk with you now, ensuring that every challenge you face carries the potential to shape you rather than break you. You have lived through moments when strength rose within you at the precise time you needed it, even when you were certain you had nothing left to give. And the origin of that strength has lingered in your memory because it felt far greater than anything you could have summoned on your own. Thinking back, you might recall times when exhaustion blurred your thoughts, when fear tightened your chest, or when grief pressed against your spirit with a weight that felt impossible to bear, yet something inside you refused to collapse. This strength appeared without warning, as if an unseen source steadied your heart and reminded your inner being that you were capable of taking one more breath, one more step, one more decision. When you found the composure to speak words of calm while your emotions churned, when you offered support to someone else even though you felt fragile yourself, or when you chose truth in a moment when deception would have been easier, this strength revealed its presence. It didn't shout or demand recognition. It worked quietly through your instincts, your resilience, and the courage that surfaced just in time. In the moments when you felt overwhelmed, this strength guided you through decisions that shaped your future. When you thought you were alone in your fight, clarity would emerge, cutting through confusion long enough for you to make a choice that preserved your dignity and protected your path. This strength came from a deeper place within you, one that remained untouched by the disappointments, conflicts, and uncertainties around you. Even when you questioned your worth, this strength continued to operate as if it recognized a truth about you that your circumstances could not erase. When you walked away from situations that no longer served you, when you set boundaries you once felt too timid to express, or when you confronted fears that kept you confined, the strength you felt was a result of something far greater than willpower. There were also times when this strength showed itself through restraint. You held your tongue when anger urged you to speak recklessly. You forgave when bitterness tempted you to harden your heart. You stepped back from situations that invited chaos. These decisions demonstrated a maturity you didn't always realize you possessed. The strength that carried you forward was not always loud. Sometimes it whispered through patience, self-control, and the ability to endure tension without letting it define you. Looking back, you can see how this strength preserved your integrity, protected your relationships, and guided you toward stability. This strength continues to grow within you, shaping your character and widening your capacity to face life with courage. You are becoming someone who understands the value of inner endurance, someone who knows how to rise even when circumstances try to bend you. This strength does not disappear when you feel weak. It expands during your most vulnerable moments, proving that its source is deeper than emotion and more steady than circumstance. It is a foundation inside you that will support every chapter of your life, helping you walk with clarity even through moments that once frightened you. You have always sensed details that others overlook, felt emotions more deeply than most around you, and noticed shifts in energy, tone, or atmosphere before anyone else acknowledged them, and this sensitivity has shaped your journey in ways you are only beginning to understand. From an early age, you recognized when something was off in a conversation, even if no one spoke directly about it. You detected sincerity in someone's eyes, or the absence of it, without needing an explanation. You felt tension in a room long before others responded to it. These perceptions didn't come from overthinking. They originated from a deeper level of awareness that has been part of you from the beginning. While others moved through the world focused primarily on what they could see, you responded to what you felt, even when you didn't yet understand how to interpret your intuition. This heightened perception wasn't always comfortable. There were moments when you felt overwhelmed by emotions that didn't belong to you, especially when you stood near conflict, sorrow, or dishonesty. Your heart responded to situations silently, sensing truth long before words confirmed it. There were times when you acted cautiously without knowing why, only to discover later that your instincts protected you from harm. This awareness not only guided your decisions but also shaped your compassion. You noticed subtle pain in others, even when they hid it behind humor or strength. You recognized when someone needed encouragement, space, or understanding. You offered kindness in moments when the situation didn't obviously demand it, yet your presence made a difference. This sensitivity didn't make you weak. It made you discerning. Because of this perception, you often carried burdens others didn't recognize. The weight of unspoken emotions, the pressure of managing your reactions, and the responsibility of caring deeply sometimes left you feeling isolated. However, this very sensitivity allowed you to see opportunities for healing, connection, and honesty that others missed. You were able to discern who valued you, who didn't, and who only understood you on a surface level. Your heart detected the intentions behind words, the sincerity within apologies, and the truth beneath silence. This awareness enriched your relationships, even if it also taught you hard lessons about where to invest your energy. Now, as your understanding deepens, you can see how your sensitivity has shaped your wisdom. It allows you to navigate complex situations with clarity, to see the motives behind actions, and to respond with insight rather than impulsiveness. Your heart perceives what others miss because it has been trained through experience, intuition, and empathy. This gift continues to evolve within you, expanding your ability to guide, comfort, and connect with others in meaningful ways. It is a lifelong compass that helps you recognize truth and choose paths aligned with your highest good. You have often felt a quiet certainty rising within you at unexpected times, a sense of knowing that didn't come through logic, experience, or explanation. This inner sense appeared when you faced decisions that felt larger than your understanding, offering guidance that bypassed confusion and spoke directly to your core. You experienced it when you felt compelled to walk away from situations that no longer aligned with who you were becoming. You sensed it when you met people who instantly felt significant, even before you understood why. You recognized it when you felt urged to pause, reflect, or reconsider a choice. This knowing has acted like an internal compass, pointing you toward clarity even when circumstances around you felt uncertain. This inner knowing didn't always feel convenient. It challenged you when life urged you toward choices that seemed logical but didn't resonate with your spirit. It spoke up when you tried to ignore your intuition in favor of comfort or familiarity. It revealed truths you weren't always ready to face, yet they proved accurate with time. This knowing carried a stillness that cut through doubt, helping you distinguish between what was merely tempting and what was truly aligned with your growth. You may have questioned it in the past, wondering whether it came from anxiety or imagination. Yet its accuracy remained consistent enough for you to trust it more over time. There were moments when the sense of knowing protected you. It warned you of people who did not have your best interests at heart. It signaled when an opportunity seemed promising but carried hidden consequences. It urged you to wait when your impatience tried to push you forward too quickly. There were also moments when this knowing encouraged you. It whispered that you were capable of succeeding even when fear suggested otherwise. It reminded you that your story wasn't over when you reached low points. It gave you confidence to choose paths that demanded courage. Through every season, this knowing shaped your decisions, strengthened your resilience, and helped you navigate complexity with quiet confidence. This internal guidance has always been connected to the deeper part of you, the part that recognizes truth even before your mind processes it. It flows through your intuition, your conscience, and your awareness, creating a sense of alignment that helps you walk with discernment. As you continue to grow, this knowing becomes even clearer, allowing you to trust yourself with greater confidence. It reminds you that wisdom doesn't only come from knowledge or experience. It also comes from insight that rises within your spirit at the exact moment you need it. This gift continues to evolve, shaping your path with clarity and helping you step into your purpose with assurance and grace. You have spent much of your life feeling emotions with an intensity that others around you seemed unable to comprehend, and at times you wondered whether this sensitivity made you fragile or overly reactive. Yet this very trait has been one of the clearest indicators of your purpose. From the earliest moments of your personal growth, you noticed the weight of other people's words, the subtle shifts in their expressions, and the hidden emotions behind their actions. This awareness didn't emerge by accident. It was formed within you as part of your inner design. While others moved through life absorbing only what was obvious, you absorbed what was unspoken. This allowed you to navigate human experiences with depth, understanding motivations, fears, and wounds long before anyone explained them to you. Your sensitivity gave you a unique connection to the emotional landscapes of others, which often placed you in the role of comforter, listener, advisor, or quiet anchor in times of uncertainty. This sensitivity has also shaped your compassion. You notice pain in the eyes of others even when they hid it behind strength. You recognize joy in subtle gestures, allowing you to celebrate even the small victories of those around you. You sensed when someone needed space or when someone needed reassurance, even without being told. These instincts were not burdens. They were signs of your ability to care deeply. Your heart was built with the capacity to connect meaningfully, to offer warmth where coldness prevailed, and to bring understanding where confusion lingered. This depth allowed you to become someone who helped others feel seen, valued, and understood, sometimes without even trying. Yet the same sensitivity that allowed you to pour into others also made you vulnerable to being misunderstood, overlooked, or taken for granted. There were moments when your emotions overwhelmed you, when your heart felt too open, and when the world seemed too harsh for the softness you carried. You tried to toughen yourself, believing that distance or indifference might protect you, but such attempts never felt natural. You were never meant to silence your sensitivity. You were meant to learn how to direct it. Strength does not come from closing your heart. It comes from understanding how to use its depth wisely. Over time, your sensitivity has given you insight into your boundaries, showing you when to step back, when to speak up, and when to walk away. It has taught you discernment, helping you recognize true intentions and genuine connections. This trait will continue to guide your purpose. Your sensitivity is the reason you offer comfort with sincerity, speak with authenticity, and feel life with richness. It allows you to connect with others at depths they rarely experience. It empowers you to sense truth even when it is whispered, to recognize potential even when it is hidden, and to nurture growth even when it seems unlikely. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is your unique calling, shaping the path only you can walk and offering light that only you can bring. There were seasons when you felt an invisible heaviness pressing against your progress, as though something was working against your peace, clarity, or confidence, even when nothing obvious was happening around you. These moments left you confused, wondering why your emotions shifted drastically without clear explanation, or why your motivation suddenly faded even when your goals were important. You felt internal tension rising without a cause you could identify, and the struggle sometimes felt disproportionate to your circumstances. What you didn't fully comprehend at the time was that you were navigating battles that were not merely emotional or circumstantial. They were spiritual in nature. These battles targeted your identity, your vision, and your stability, trying to convince you that you were weaker than you truly were. You remember times when discouragement arrived without warning, clouding your thoughts with doubts that didn't belong to you. Your confidence felt undermined by subtle lies that suggested you weren't capable, worthy, or prepared. Even when others affirmed you, something inside you battled with insecurity that didn't match your reality. These internal conflicts were not signs of failure. They were signs that you were growing. Growth often attracts resistance because it signals the emergence of strength. The closer you move it to clarity, the more confusion tried to settle in. The more you stepped into purpose, the more distraction tried to interfere. The more you understood your value, the more you encountered situations that challenged it. These battles didn't only appear through thoughts. They showed up through unexpected conflict, emotional overwhelm, moments of isolation, or sudden waves of exhaustion. Yet even in the midst of these challenges, something inside you held firm. You kept moving, even when it was slow. You kept searching for truth, even when it felt hidden. You kept believing you were meant for more, even when doubt tried to silence that belief. This resilience revealed that your spirit was stronger than the conflicts surrounding it. You were protected in ways you didn't fully see. You were strengthened in ways you didn't fully understand. Each battle refined your endurance, sharpened your discernment, and deepened your connection to what is meaningful. Now, as your understanding expands, you can see that these battles were not punishments but preparation. They taught you how to stand firm when pressure rises, how to quiet your mind when fear becomes loud, and how to trust your inner direction even when everything around you feels uncertain. The strength you carry today developed through these unseen struggles. It shaped your identity, your boundaries, and your resilience. You are no longer intimidated by conflict, not because you never feel fear, but because you have learned how capable you are of rising above what once overwhelmed you. These battles build a depth within you that nothing can take away. They prepared you for the life you are stepping into now. There were moments in your journey when the resistance you faced seemed excessive, disproportionate to the choices you were making or the direction you were moving, and in those moments you questioned whether something was wrong with you. Yet the intensity of the opposition was not a reflection of weakness. It was evidence of your significance. You faced battles that others around you didn't seem to encounter, not because you were unlucky, but because your life carries a level of influence and purpose that challenges forces you may not see. The pressure wasn't random. It arose in the moments when you were closest to breakthrough, closest to clarity, or closest to stepping into a new chapter. You were targeted not because you were fragile, but because you were valuable. You endured inner conflict during times when you were on the verge of growth, as though something tried to distract you from recognizing your own potential. Opportunities slipped away unexpectedly, relationships shifted abruptly, and emotions fluctuated sharply, not because you lacked control, but because your progress mattered. You may have noticed that whenever you approach a moment that required courage, distractions appeared. Whenever you sought to improve your life, old patterns suddenly resurfaced. Whenever you tried to focus, chaos seemed to interrupt. These disruptions were not coincidences. They revealed that what you carry within you has power, and power always attracts resistance. Yet despite this opposition, you continued to move forward. You kept rebuilding after each setback, even when it felt exhausting. You kept believing in your worth after moments that tried to convince you otherwise. You kept learning, growing, and seeking truth even when confusion surrounded you. That persistence was not accidental. It was your spirit proving its resilience. Through every challenge, you discovered new layers of strength, wisdom, and clarity. You learned how to navigate conflict without losing yourself. You learned how to protect your peace. You learned how to stand firm even when your emotions tried to pull you backward. This warfare also revealed your potential to influence others. You became someone who offers insight, someone who brings calm where there is chaos, someone who encourages when others give up. Your life carries the kind of stability, compassion, and depth that impacts people more than you realize. The resistance you faced was never about your flaws. It was about your future. The battles were designed to distract you from recognizing the impact you are meant to have. But you didn't break. You didn't surrender. You grew instead. Now, as you reflect on those seasons of struggle, you can see how they shaped your identity. You understand the value of your voice, your presence, and your path. You have become someone who cannot be easily shaken, someone who carries the strength of every victory earned through difficulty. The warfare you endured proved your value long before you recognized it yourself. And that value continues to increase as you grow into the fullness of who you are becoming. You may not have understood it then, but even in your earliest years, there was something in you that responded to life differently than those around you. You noticed things others ignored, sensed emotions they couldn't articulate, and thought about questions they considered too heavy or strange for your age. This inner depth wasn't something you chose. It emerged from a part of you that had been awakened long before you reached the moments that shaped your adult understanding. As a child, you didn't have the vocabulary to describe why the world felt so vivid or why certain experiences struck you so intensely. You simply carried an awareness that set you apart. While others absorbed their environments casually, you absorbed them meaningfully. You watched people's expressions, listened to the tone beneath their words, and felt the atmosphere of a room as though it spoke directly to you. These early impressions taught you to see life with a heightened clarity that only grew stronger with time. Your childhood also contained moments when you sensed truth instinctively. You felt when something was off even without evidence. You recognized sincerity before you understood what sincerity meant. You sensed tension before conflict showed itself. These inner impressions guided you, even if you didn't fully know how to follow them. At times, this sensitivity made you feel out of place, especially when your depth was mistaken for shyness, seriousness, or imagination. Yet that inner awareness helped you navigate your early relationships with an almost intuitive wisdom. You often felt older than your peers, not because of maturity alone, but because your heart processed the world in layers others didn't notice. As you grew, this sense of being different occasionally brought loneliness. You wondered why certain experiences affected you so deeply, or why some situations drained you more than they seemed to affect others. You questioned whether something was wrong with you, not realizing that your sensitivity was a sign of your unique wiring. You were designed to feel, observe, and understand with a depth that allowed you to grow into someone who can navigate emotional and spiritual landscapes with insight. When you look back now, you can trace how these early traits prepared you for the person you have become. They shaped your empathy, your perception, your intuition, and your ability to understand others in ways many struggle to comprehend. The difference you carried as a child was not an accident. It was an early indication of your identity. It was the quiet mark of someone destined to engage with life deeply rather than superficially. You were being shaped long before you understood the reasons. Those early sensations of being different were not signs of alienation but indications of alignment with a path that required awareness, discernment, and emotional intelligence. The childhood depth remains within you today, guiding your decisions and shaping your journey with a wisdom that began forming long before you knew what to call it. There is a reason your heart reacts with such intensity to injustice, suffering, dishonesty, or emotional pain. You feel deeply not because you are fragile, but because your compassion has always been attuned to the hidden and vulnerable places of human experience. When you witness someone hurting, something inside you responds instinctively, almost as if their pain vibrates against a sensitive chord within you. You often found yourself moved by emotions you couldn't fully explain. Moments when witnessing someone else's struggle stirred a heaviness inside you that lasted longer than you expected. This connection to human experience was not something you learned. It was something embedded within you from the beginning. Your heart was shaped with an unusual capacity to empathize, to recognize suffering beneath the surface, and to care about things others overlook. This sensitivity made you someone who listened when others hurried, someone who noticed when someone was hurting even if they hid it, and someone who felt compelled to offer comfort, understanding, or presence without being asked. These qualities didn't always make your life easier. In fact, carrying such depth sometimes felt burdensome. You felt drained when exposed to conflict, emotional turmoil, or unkindness. You struggled to detach from situations that others walked away from easily. Yet this very capacity reveals the strength of your character. You possess a heart that refuses to grow numb, even when numbness might seem more convenient. You continue to care even after you've been disappointed. You continue to offer kindness even when it isn't returned. You continue to love deeply even after your heart hath been wounded. This kind of heart is not common. It shapes your interactions, your choices, and your sense of purpose. It is the reason certain stories move you so powerfully and why you feel compelled to help even when you're not sure how. It is the reason you carry both joy and sorrow with a sincerity that touches others. This heart is not a weakness, it is a calling. It is the emotional blueprint that enables you to bring healing, comfort, and understanding to those who cross your path. Your ability to feel deeply is a gift that amplifies your impact on the world. Through your empathy, others feel seen. Through your compassion, others feel understood. Through your sincerity, others feel valued. As you continue to grow, you are learning how to balance this emotional depth with wisdom. You are discovering how to maintain boundaries without closing your heart. You are learning to protect your energy without dimming your compassion. You are recognizing that your heart breaks not to weaken you but to guide you toward the people, causes, and moments that align with your purpose. Your empathy is not accidental, it is intentional. It is part of the reason you influence others so naturally, and it will continue to shape the path you walk in ways that bring meaning to your journey and comfort to those around you. You have felt moments when your conscience stirred more sharply than expected, when certain choices or environments suddenly felt misaligned with who you were becoming, and these moments weren't driven by guilt or fear. They were evidence of an inward pull toward clarity, integrity, and spiritual growth. This pull didn't arise from external pressure, but from an internal shift that made you crave authenticity over comfort. You sensed it when conversations that once entertained you began to feel hollow, when habits that once distracted you lost their appeal, or when relationships that once felt familiar started to feel misaligned with your values. These changes didn't mean you were becoming judgmental or rigid. They meant you were awakening to a deeper awareness of what nourishes your spirit and what depletes it. Holiness, in this sense, is not about perfection or moral superiority. It is about alignment. It is about understanding who you are becoming, and which choices resonate with your truest identity. The pull you felt was the quiet guidance of your inner world urging you toward decisions that honor your growth. It helped you recognize that some spaces, conversations, and experiences no longer supported your well-being. It encouraged you to choose truth even when dishonesty seemed easier. It nudged you toward patience even when impatience offered instant gratification. It guided you toward self-control even when indulgence felt tempting. This internal pull strengthened you in subtle ways. You noticed that certain boundaries became easier to set, certain temptations became easier to resist, and certain old patterns lost their grip on you. These changes revealed that your spirit had matured beyond the limitations of your past. You no longer craved the same distractions because your inner desires shifted. You wanted peace, not chaos. You wanted truth, not illusion. You wanted growth, not stagnation. This desire for alignment changed how you viewed yourself. You began to value your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being more carefully. You no longer felt comfortable ignoring your conscience or compromising your integrity. This pull toward holiness is shaping your identity. It is guiding you into a future marked by clarity, purpose, and self-respect. It is leading you toward relationships that honor your spirit, environments that support your growth, and opportunities that align with your calling. This internal shift is a sign of transformation, not into someone distant from the world, but into someone grounded enough to influence it meaningfully. You are growing into a version of yourself that carries wisdom, discernment, and strength, and the journey you're on will continue to unfold with greater clarity as you follow the pull that has been guiding you with unwavering precision. You have felt the tension of living in a world filled with loud opinions, conflicting perspectives, and constant distraction. Yet through it all, your heart kept searching for something deeper than surface-level explanations. The desire for clarity has followed you through every stage of your life, shaping the way you interpret experiences and guiding your decisions even when the path ahead felt uncertain. You noticed early on that noise didn't satisfy you. You could listen to the same conversations as everyone else, yet walk away feeling as though something essential was missing. Moments that others dismissed as simple or insignificant often stirred reflection within you, because you sensed there was meaning beneath the surface. Your mind would linger on questions others never asked, and your heart would drift toward understanding rather than assumption. This longing didn't come from curiosity alone. It came from a deeper connection between your spirit and truth itself. You were never designed to settle for misinformation, illusions, or empty promises, because your identity is tied to clarity, authenticity, and awareness. As life unfolded, your desire for truth became even more pronounced. You began noticing inconsistencies in your environment, recognizing when words didn't align with actions, and discerning when someone's motives didn't match their expressions. This sensitivity protected you from many hidden traps, even if you didn't immediately recognize its purpose. While others may have fallen into patterns of compromise, you found yourself unable to ignore the inner discomfort that rose whenever you tried to follow a path that felt misaligned. This discomfort acted like a compass, pushing you away from confusion and toward understanding. Even in your lowest moments, when doubt clouded your thinking, a quiet clarity always resurfaced, guiding you back to a place of honesty with yourself. This internal pull toward truth strengthened your integrity and sharpened your discernment. Your search for truth altered your relationship. You learned to value sincerity over charm, consistency over excitement, and honesty over convenience. You recognized the difference between people who spoke with depth and those who simply filled silence with words. This discernment allowed you to build connections based on mutual respect and genuine intention. It also helped you step away from relationships that drained your energy or distorted your sense of self. Choosing truth meant choosing environments that nourished your growth, even when doing so required courage and patience. Along the way, you realized that not everyone shares your commitment to truth, and that understanding helped you set boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. Your desire for truth will continue to serve you. It gives you resilience in times of confusion, stability in moments of uncertainty, and clarity when decisions grow complicated. It allows you to navigate life with confidence, recognizing that your inner compass points toward what aligns with your highest purpose. You are not drawn to truth because you fear deception. You are drawn to truth because your spirit was created to flourish in authenticity. And that desire, deeply rooted within you, will continue guiding your steps with quiet certainty. You have walked through seasons where certain habits, behaviors, or emotional responses seemed to repeat themselves, creating cycles that felt difficult to escape, and throughout those seasons you wondered whether change was possible for you. These patterns often trace back to earlier experiences, moments when you learned to protect yourself, moments when you absorbed beliefs without questioning them, or moments when circumstances forced you into survival mode. Over time, these patterns shaped how you thought, how you loved, how you trusted, and how you responded to challenge. Yet as you grew, something inside you recognized when these habits no longer aligned with who you were becoming. You began noticing when your reactions felt automatic rather than intentional. You sensed when certain behaviors drained you, even if they once helped you cope. You recognized when old emotional wounds tried to influence new situations. These realizations mark the beginning of transformation. Breaking patterns isn't sudden or simple. It unfolds slowly, often through discomfort, reflection, and moments of awakening. You notice certain cycles repeating until the pain of staying the same outweighed the fear of change. When you reached these turning points, you were pushed to examine parts of your life you once avoided. You confronted habits that protected you but also limited you. You recognized relationships that encouraged unhealthy versions of yourself. You identified beliefs that once gave you structure but now restricted your growth. These discoveries didn't arrive all at once. They came in pieces, shaping your understanding gradually. Each insight was a step toward breaking free from the old framework that no longer supported your purpose. The process of breaking patterns brought moments of uncertainty. You felt the tension between who you once were and who you were becoming. You questioned whether you could truly change, whether the effort was worth it, and whether the discomfort would ever ease. Yet with each step, your awareness deepened. You recognized that letting go of old cycles wasn't about rejecting your past. It was about honoring the evolution of your identity. You no longer wanted to react from fear, exhaustion, or obligation. You wanted to respond with intention, clarity, and strength. This desire propelled you forward, even when the journey felt challenging. These shifts didn't only reshape your habits, they reshaped your beliefs about yourself. You realized you were capable of creating new patterns rooted in stability rather than survival, in purpose rather than pressure, in self-awareness rather than self-protection. The more you grew, the more space you created for healthier connections, healthier choices, and healthy thoughts. You began building a life that reflects your true values rather than the wounds of your past. The patterns breaking within you are not signs of instability. They are signs of transformation. They reveal your courage to choose growth over familiarity and healing over repetition. By breaking these cycles, you are becoming someone who moves through life with clarity, strength, and purpose. There have been moments when you felt tired, overwhelmed, or stretched beyond what you believed you could handle. Yet even in those moments, a quiet strength grew inside you, working beneath the surface where you couldn't see it forming. This strength didn't come from force or determination alone. It came from your willingness to endure, to reflect, and to rise each time life challenged you. You may not have noticed it growing, because it developed in the subtle places. In your patience when waiting felt unbearable, in your perseverance when progress seemed slow, and in your ability to stay grounded even when your emotions felt unsteady. This quiet strength has followed you through every disappointment, every heartbreak, and every shift in your life, becoming more refined each time you chose to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. You discovered this strength in moments when you resisted the urge to give up, even when you felt exhausted. You found it when you confronted fears that once dictated your decisions. You noticed it when you stopped apologizing for your boundaries, your value, or your voice. Quiet strength is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, consistent, and deeply rooted. It empowers you to navigate storms without losing your center. It supports you in moments when your confidence wavers. It helps you see yourself clearly even when life feels chaotic. This strength has matured within you slowly, shaping your ability to endure challenges that would have broken the younger version of you. You might also recognize this strength in the way you now process your emotions. Instead of being consumed by them, you allow them to move through you. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause long enough to respond wisely. Instead of letting circumstances define your worth, you anchor yourself in a deeper understanding of who you are. This inner stability has altered the way you engage with the world. You no longer feel compelled to seek approval from those who don't value your perspective. You no longer feel pressured to fit into spaces that limit your expression. You no longer rely on external validation to feel secure. Your strength has become internal and self-sustaining. This quiet strength will continue to serve you as you step into new chapters of your life. It will help you make decisions based on intention rather than fear. It will support you when you confront challenges that require resilience. It will guide you when you are called to lead, support, or inspire others. You are becoming someone who walks with calm certainty even when the path ahead is unclear. The strength within you is not finished growing. It is shaping you into someone whose presence stabilizes others, whose words carry weight, and whose confidence is grounded in a depth you earn through experience. This quiet strength is one of your greatest gifts, and it will remain with you through every step of your journey. You have sensed the shift within yourself long before the evidence appeared around you. A subtle yet undeniable awareness that something in your life has begun moving in a new direction. This inner recognition didn't start with dramatic signs or sudden changes. It began with a quiet uneasiness, a feeling that the rhythms you once relied on no longer matched the pace of your spirit. You noticed it when familiar habits stopped bringing comfort, when predictable routines started to feel limiting rather than stabilizing, and when your thoughts drifted toward possibilities you once dismissed as unrealistic. These early impressions were not random emotions. They were the first signals of a new season forming around you, a season that asks more of your courage, your clarity, and your willingness to grow than any season before it. You may have felt confused at times, wondering why your heart was no longer satisfied by what once felt enough. But this restlessness was a sign that you were preparing to expand into a chapter that was waiting for you long before you recognized it. As this new season unfolds, you may find yourself pulled toward changes that feel both exciting and intimidating. Old desires are losing their grip, not because they were wrong, but because you have outgrown them. New desires are emerging, calling you into deeper purpose, greater authenticity, and a more intentional way of living. You are not being pushed by pressure, you are being pulled by alignment. This shift requires you to notice what your spirit responds to now rather than what it settled for in the past. You will begin to understand why certain relationships have changed, why some opportunities never developed, and why unexpected challenges shape your resilience. These experiences were not obstacles, they were preparation. They loosened your attachment to what could not support your future and strengthened your capacity to embrace what is approaching. In this season, you are being asked to trust your inner direction more boldly. You may not see the full picture yet, but the pieces are aligning with precision. The clarity you seek will appear through small confirmations, moments when your intuition feels sharp, when unexpected encouragement arrives at the perfect time, or when circumstances shift in ways that validate the direction your heart has been leaning. Your role is not to control the unfolding, but to stay open to the guidance rising within you. As you step further into this new season, you will notice your confidence expanding, your discernment sharpening, and your sense of purpose becoming more defined. The path ahead may not be entirely visible, but you are already equipped for what is coming. You are entering a season that reflects your growth, honors your resilience, and invites you into a future that aligns with the person you have quietly been becoming all along. You have reached a point in your journey where certain environments, relationships, habits, and even versions of yourself no longer feel comfortable, and this discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of your evolution. There was a time when these familiar places provided stability, when these patterns helped you cope, and when these connections shaped important parts of your identity. Yet as you grew, your inner world started expanding in ways that your old life could no longer support. You noticed this shift when conversations that once fascinated you began to feel shallow, or when habits that once calmed you started draining your energy. You sensed it when you tried to return to old routines, only to find that they left you feeling disconnected rather than grounded. This misalignment revealed that you were no longer the person who built those patterns. Your spirit matured beyond what your past structures could sustain. This change may have brought moments of grief, because outgrowing something familiar often feels like loss. Yet this loss carries purpose. When old things stop fitting, it is because you have stepped into a new internal space that cannot be confined by outdated expectations. You began valuing emotional honesty over convenience, depth over distraction, and alignment over approval. These values have reshaped your desires and sharpened your understanding of what truly nourishes you. You have learned to protect your energy, to choose relationships that support your growth, and to pursue goals that reflect your true identity rather than the identity others once assigned to you. As you stepped into this new awareness, your spirit began releasing anything that hindered your progress, even if your mind needed time to adjust. The discomfort of no longer fitting into your old life is actually the doorway into your new one. You are becoming someone with clearer boundaries, stronger convictions, and deeper self-awareness. This transformation allows you to see opportunities and connections you once overlooked. It also equips you to walk away from what drains you without feeling guilty for protecting your well-being. The parts of your life that no longer fit served a purpose in their season, but they cannot accompany the version of you that is emerging now. You are being prepared for relationships that match your growth, environments that elevate your potential, and experiences that honor your evolution. Letting go of what no longer fits is not rejection of the past. It is alignment with your future. There is a discomfort growing inside you that you cannot shake, a restlessness that refuses to quiet itself no matter how hard you try to return to old comforts. This discomfort is not punishment, nor is it a sign that you have made a wrong turn. It is an indication that your spirit is stretching, preparing itself for a level of purpose and responsibility that your previous mindset could not support. You feel it when your peace becomes unsettled in places that once brought stability, or when opportunities that once excited you now feel too small. This discomfort whispers that you are meant for something beyond your current surroundings, something that requires readiness, courage, and openness. It challenges you to confront areas of your life where you have grown comfortable but stagnant, urging you to step into a more expansive version of yourself. This holy discomfort also disrupts patterns that once defined you. It pushes you to question whether you have been settling for less than you deserve, whether you have been carrying burdens that no longer belong to you, or whether you have been shrinking your potential to maintain familiarity. You may find that you are no longer able to ignore truths that once felt easier to avoid. You may feel compelled to make decisions that align with your growth, even if they require courage you didn't know you possessed. This discomfort is refining your intentions, strengthening your resilience, and sharpening your discernment. It is teaching you to trust your inner voice more deeply, to listen to your intuition without hesitation, and to honor the direction you are being guided toward. Although this process feels unsettling, it is shaping you for the next stage of your journey. You are being guided to release what holds you back and embrace what elevates you. You are being prepared to carry greater clarity, deeper wisdom, and stronger purpose. The tension you feel is not a threat. It is transformation. It signals that your spirit is outgrowing its current container and needs new space to breathe. This discomfort is the threshold between who you have been and who you are becoming. When you move through it with openness, you will discover that it was not meant to overwhelm you but to prepare you. It is the sacred movement that precedes expansion, inviting you into a future far more aligned with the fullness of your identity. You have felt the tension of being pulled away from certain people, environments, or routines that once felt familiar, and even though this separation has sometimes left you confused or uncertain, it has been shaping you with a precision you could not fully understand at the time. There were days when the distance felt like loss, as if life was stripping things away without explanation, yet underneath the surface something intentional was forming. You were being shifted, not because you were unworthy of what you left behind, but because your growth required a level of clarity and alignment that your old surroundings could no longer provide. You may recall moments when connections that were once easy suddenly became strained, when conversations felt hollow even though nothing visibly changed, or when certain relationships gradually loosened without conflict. This quiet unraveling was not rejection, it was redirection. You were being positioned for a path that demanded emotional, mental, and spiritual space that would have been impossible to cultivate if everything around you had remained the same. As you continue to step into this season of separation, you will begin to see how essential it has been for your inner transformation. Some of the people who drifted from your life would have limited your growth, not out of malice, but because their purpose in your journey had already been fulfilled. Some environments that once felt like safe havens would have eventually restricted your potential. Some behaviors that you once relied on would have kept you from discovering your deeper capacities. The separation you endured stripped away distractions that masked your true self, revealing your resilience, your intuition, and your capacity to stand independently. It allowed you to confront your fears without the influence of outside voices, and it gave you the space to recognize truths you had previously overlooked. You are not being isolated for the sake of emptiness. You are being separated so that refinement can take place. Your solitude is not abandonment. It is alignment. In this process, you may also have discovered strengths that surprise you. You learned to set boundaries you once avoided. You discovered how to find comfort within stillness. You noticed parts of yourself that had been overshadowed by the expectations of others. As this clarity continues to sharpen, the purpose behind your separation will reveal itself more fully. You will find new relationships that align with your growth, opportunities that match your evolving identity, and environments that support your expansion rather than limit it. The separation you're experiencing is evidence of your transition into a chapter that requires more of your authenticity and less of your compromise. You are being shaped for something greater than your previous season could contain, and every step of distance is preparing you for a future that fits you with far more precision than anything you have walked away from. You have carried the weight of losing people you cared about, people you trusted, people whose presence once felt essential to your story, and at times you questioned whether their departure meant something was wrong with you. But their absence was never a reflection of your failure. It was a necessary unfolding in your journey. Some individuals entered your life to play a role only meant for a specific season, teaching you lessons you couldn't have learned on your own, helping you see truths you might have ignored, or offering companionship during chapters where you needed support. These relationships served their purpose, even if they did not last. You might remember moments when things began to shift, communication changed, closeness faded, or misunderstandings formed without clear explanation. These changes didn't occur because your worth diminished. They occurred because your path began to diverge from theirs, and holding on would have pulled your spirit backwards instead of forward. As you reflect, you may recognize that some people left because their presence would have hindered your growth. Their influence may have kept you tied to behaviors you were outgrowing. Their perspective may have encouraged you to stay small. Their expectations may have prevented you from embracing your true identity. Releasing them, even unintentionally, created space for you to evolve. Not every heart is meant to travel the entire journey with you, and not every connection is built to withstand the transformation you are undergoing. You changed, and so did the alignment of your relationships. This is not betrayal, it is natural evolution. There were also those whose departure protected your emotional well-being. Some connections carried patterns that drained your energy or clouded your clarity. Some dynamic imbalances kept you giving more than you received. Some individuals couldn't understand your depth, and their misunderstanding left you feeling unseen. Life removed them not to wound you, but to heal you. Walking away or being left behind did not diminish your value, it preserved your spirit. You may have outgrown those relationships quietly, realizing later that the distance created room for better healing, stronger boundaries, and healthier connections. This grieving has also strengthened your discernment. You now recognize who deserves access to your emotions, your vulnerability, and your presence. You understand the difference between connections rooted in convenience and those rooted in mutual growth. You have learned to appreciate relationships that align with your values while releasing those that conflict with your evolution. This clarity will guide you as new connections enter your life. Individuals who resonate with your purpose, who recognize your worth without being intimidated by it, and who grow alongside you rather than pulling against you. The people who left were part of your story but not meant to be part of your destination, and accepting this truth allows you to embrace the relationships ahead with openness and peace. You have encountered moments when everything around you grew quiet, when prayers felt unanswered, when clarity seemed distant, and when the guidance you once relied on felt muted. These silent seasons were not signs of abandonment. They were invitations into deeper trust. Silence has a way of exposing your fears, amplifying your uncertainties, and challenging your assumptions. When external clarity fades, you are encouraged to listen inwardly, to discover strength and wisdom that cannot be found through noise or distraction. In the quiet, you meet parts of yourself that rarely appeared during moments of ease. You confront doubts you once pushed aside, and you learn to recognize the subtle movements of your spirit with greater sensitivity. Silence is not emptiness, it is refinement. During this silence, the absence of immediate answers becomes an opportunity for your inner growth. You learn to trust your intuition more deeply, to rely on the lessons you have carried from previous seasons, and to navigate uncertainty with greater resilience. Instead of being guided step by step, you are invited to walk forward based on what you already know about who you are and what you value. It strengthens your faith, not in the sense of blind optimism, but in the sense of grounded certainty. Faith grows when you realize you are capable of moving even when you cannot see the entire path. Faith deepens when you recognize that your survival through past challenges has already proven your capacity to endure. Silence teaches you that clarity is not always immediate but always eventual. This quiet season also exposes the noise you once depended on, noise that distracted you from your own wisdom, noise that distorted your perception, noise that drowned out your intuition. When the noise fades, you become more aware of your own strength. You observe how your mind functions without external influence. You notice how your emotions settle when you are not overwhelmed by outside expectations. You recognize bits of clarity that rise from within rather than from your surroundings. These insights reveal that you are far more capable and grounded than you realized. In time, the silence will give way to guidance, and when it does, you will see how much you have grown because of it. Your perspective will have matured. Your confidence will have deepened. Your decision-making will feel more aligned. You will be able to discern opportunities with greater precision and respond to challenges with more stability. The silence was never a void. It was a training ground. It prepared you for the next chapters of your life by strengthening your faith, sharpening your discernment, and anchoring your identity in something unshakable. You have waded through seasons that stretched longer than you ever anticipated, seasons where you questioned whether anything was truly moving or whether your efforts were disappearing into silence. And yet these delays were never signs of denial. They were precise intervals of preparation designed to align your growth with your destiny. You might remember moments when opportunities felt within reach only to slip away unexpectedly, or when progress seemed to pause right when you thought you were finally gaining momentum. These experiences didn't happen to frustrate you. They happened to shape you. There were lessons you needed before the next stage could begin, strengths that had to mature within you, and perspectives that required time to deepen. If what you desired had arrived too soon, you might have stepped into it with an unsteady foundation, relying on old patterns or wounds that were still healing. The delay protected you from walking into a future you weren't fully equipped to sustain. During these seasons of waiting, your patience was tested not to weaken your resolve but to refine your discernment. You learned how to distinguish between impulse and intention. You learned how to evaluate choices with wisdom rather than urgency. You discovered which desires were genuine and which were driven by fear, comparison, or pressure. Each delay became an invitation to reflect, recalibrate, and grow. The time you spent in uncertainty taught you how to anchor yourself without depending on predictable outcomes. It forced you to listen more closely to your inner voice, to trust your instincts, and to become comfortable with the unknown. These skills are not merely emotional, they are spiritual. They allow you to enter your next season grounded rather than scattered. The timing you once questioned is beginning to show its purpose. You are starting to understand that certain relationships needed time to evolve or dissolve. Certain opportunities needed to mature behind the scenes, and certain aspects of your identity needed to strengthen before you step into environments that demand clarity. If everything had unfolded exactly when you first asked for it, you might have missed the deeper transformation that was forming beneath the surface. Your character, confidence, and resilience were being shaped in ways that only time could achieve. Now, as your awareness expands, you can recognize that each delay was a strategic pause, not a barrier, but a preparation. You were being positioned for what aligns with your true identity, not merely what satisfied your immediate desire. When the moment arrives, it will not feel rushed or chaotic. It will feel like a natural continuation of the person you have been becoming all along. You have experienced closed doors that left you bewildered, frustrated, or even heartbroken, and in those moments you questioned whether you were being overlooked or denied something your heart longed for. Yet each of those closed doors carried a purpose you could not see at the time. Some of the opportunities that slipped away would have required you to compromise your values. Some of the relationships that ended would have dimmed your confidence or distracted you from your growth. Some of the environments you outgrew would have limited your potential or surrounded you with influences that worked against your development. The closing of these doors was not a withdrawal of favor. It was an act of protection. You were being shielded from pathways that would have drained you emotionally, spiritually, or mentally long before you understood the consequences. Looking back, you can probably identify moments when you nearly entered situations that felt promising but were quietly misaligned with your purpose. You may have pursued opportunities that seemed ideal, only to discover later that they carried expectations you weren't meant to shoulder. You may have wanted relationships that felt comforting, only to realize in hindsight that they lacked the maturity or reciprocity your future requires. The doors that closed prevented you from settling for less than what was meant for you, even when the loss felt unfair. The discomfort of being redirected protected you from deeper wounds, heavier burdens, and futures that would have limited your evolution. These closures also help you develop clarity about what you truly value. Each time a door closed, it pushed you to question your intentions, refine your desires, and adjust your expectations. You learn to recognize the difference between what draws your attention and what nurtures your well-being. You became more aware of the emotional, spiritual, and relational environments that support your best self. By removing what was misaligned, you created space for opportunities that reflect your growth. The doors that closed did not end your progress. They redirected it. Now, as you continue to evolve, you are learning to trust that protected spaces are sacred spaces. A closed door does not diminish your worth. It honors your future. It guards the path ahead by ensuring that only what belongs to your journey is allowed to remain. And even though you may not yet see the full picture, you are already walking more confidently because of what you were spared. The doors that closed were not rejections. They were preservation, making room for what aligns with your purpose, your identity, and the future waiting to unfold for you. There is a stirring within you that has been growing quietly but consistently, a yearning for depth, meaning, and alignment that feels stronger than anything you've experienced in past seasons. At first, this hunger appeared in subtle ways. You noticed a shift in what inspires you, a longing for conversations that carry substance, or a desire for environments that support your inner growth rather than distract you. This hunger has been awakening steadily, revealing itself through moments of dissatisfaction with surface-level living and a craving for experiences that resonate with your spirit. It has pushed you to examine your habits, question your motivations, and explore the deeper layers of your identity with increasing honesty. This inner appetite is not a sign of emptiness, it is a sign of readiness. As this hunger grows, you are discovering desires that reflect your evolution. You want clarity, not confusion. You want peace, not chaos. You want connection that nurtures your well-being rather than drains your energy. You want purpose that aligns with your values, not fleeting validation that leaves you feeling hollow. This shift has influenced your decisions, your relationships, and your priorities. You have begun stepping away from what no longer aligns emotionally and spiritually, even when those choices felt uncomfortable. You have allowed yourself to question whether your current path matches the person you are becoming. This hunger is actively reshaping your inner world, guiding you toward the direction your spirit has been quietly pointing to for years. This longing is also birthing courage within you. You are becoming more willing to take risks that lead to growth, more willing to release what feels familiar but stagnant, and more willing to pursue experiences that challenge you in meaningful ways. This readiness indicates the beginning of a new chapter, one marked by authenticity rather than expectation, truth rather than convenience, and alignment rather than compromise. You are awakening to the realization that your life is not meant to be lived in small spaces or confined by outdated beliefs about who you should be. The hunger growing within you is expanding your vision, helping you see possibilities that once felt unreachable. And as this hunger strengthens, it prepares you to receive what you once felt unworthy to desire. It refines your focus, heightens your intuition, and deepens your awareness of the direction your future is calling you toward. This is not a temporary craving. It is the unfolding of purpose beckoning you toward the life you were designed to experience. The hunger rising within you is evidence that something significant is forming, and your spirit is already responding to the promise of what is coming next. You have reached moments in your life when the fog around your decisions finally began to lift, not because circumstances suddenly improve it, but because you chose to follow the quiet direction rising within you even when you didn't fully understand where it would lead, and that willingness created clarity that logic alone could never produce. There were times when you hesitated, unsure whether your next step made sense, yet something deeper encouraged you to move forward anyway. That movement wasn't impulsive. It came from a place within you that recognized alignment even before your mind did. Every time you honored that inner direction, whether through a difficult choice, a boundary you needed to set, or a change you felt compelled to make, you unlocked a clearer understanding of yourself and the path meant for you. Obedience in this sense is not about surrendering your autonomy. It is about trusting the wisdom that rises from your spirit, the wisdom that sees beyond immediate emotion and momentary fear. When you follow that wisdom, the confusion that once clouded your vision begins to dissolve, and you start noticing details, opportunities, and truths that you couldn't perceive before. This clarity also emerges through the discipline of aligning your decisions with your values. Whether you chose integrity over convenience, growth over comfort, or truth over approval, you sharpened your inner perception. You may not have realized how significantly those choices shaped your understanding, but each decision strengthened your inner compass. The more your actions aligned with your deeper convictions, the more easily you could discern what belonged to your path and what didn't. Clarity comes not only from knowing what to pursue, but also from knowing what to release. You learn to let go of distractions disguised as opportunities, to decline invitations that didn't honor your growth, and to silence voices that attempted to pull you away from your direction. These acts of obedience resulted in a steadiness that replaced uncertainty. As clarity continues to grow within you, it will shape how you navigate your future. You will begin to sense misalignment more quickly, recognizing when something drains your spirit instead of strengthening it. You will notice when your steps feel forced rather than natural, when your peace becomes unsettled, or when your intuition urges you to pause. You will also sense when a new opportunity aligns with the truth within you, feeling a resonance that your mind may not yet understand. This is the reward of obedience, the ability to see beyond circumstance and into purpose. The path ahead becomes less about guessing and more about listening. And as you continue to honor the inner direction guiding you, clarity will not only accompany you, it will lead you. You have misunderstood surrender for much of your life, believing it meant giving up control, losing power, or admitting defeat. Yet what has been unfolding within you reveals that surrender is one of the most profound forms of strength you can possess. There were moments when you tried to manage everything on your own, your emotions, your relationships, your outcomes, only to find yourself exhausted, overwhelmed, or stretched thin. Yet when you finally loosened your grip, allowing life to unfold in a way you could not fully dictate, something unexpected emerged: peace. Not the fragile kind that depends on everything going your way, but a deep, steady peace that comes from releasing what you were never meant to carry alone. This surrender wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. It allowed you to redirect your energy toward what truly belongs to you while letting go of battles that were never yours to fight. Surrender also revealed how much strength lies within your vulnerability. You discovered that admitting uncertainty didn't diminish your worth. It opened space for clarity. You realized that allowing yourself to feel your emotions didn't weaken you. It grounded you. You learned that releasing unrealistic expectations made room for possibilities you couldn't imagine while you were trying to control every outcome. Through this process, you began to understand that surrender is not about quitting. It is about trusting. It is about allowing your inner wisdom to guide you without the interference of fear, pride, or pressure. It is about leaning into the truth that some of the best outcomes in your life arrive not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. This surrender reshaped your resilience. You stopped bracing against life and began cooperating with it. You discovered that certain burdens became lighter the moment you acknowledged that you didn't have to carry them alone. You realized that the strength you once sought through force or determination was already present within you. It simply needed space to emerge. You now understand that surrender does not diminish your agency. It amplifies it. It gives you the clarity to choose what aligns with your identity, the strength to release what harms you, and the courage to embrace what elevates you. The strength gained through surrender will continue to guide your journey, helping you face challenges with grace, respond to uncertainty with openness, and move confidently toward the life that is unfolding before you. You have noticed that just when you are on the verge of significant change, life seems to challenge you with greater intensity, as though the pressure increases at the exact moment you need relief. These intensified battles are not random misfortunes. They are evidence that you are nearing a breakthrough. Pressure rises when your growth threatens the limitations that once held you back. The patterns you are breaking, the cycles you are ending, and the beliefs you are shedding do not disappear quietly. They resist. They push back. They attempt to pull you into familiar territory because familiarity feels safe, even when it is limiting. When your battles intensify, it is not because you are losing strength. It is because you are outgrowing the conditions that once kept you contained. During these heightened battles, you may feel overwhelmed by emotions you thought you had already healed, or confronted by challenges you believed were behind you. These moments are not regressions. They are tests of the foundation you have been building. Your resilience is being strengthened. Your clarity is being sharpened. Your confidence is being purified from doubt. You are being prepared to step into a version of yourself that requires courage you didn't need in earlier seasons. The conflict you feel is the tension between the past and the future, between who you were and who you are becoming. The closer you move toward alignment, the more resistance tries to convince you to turn back, but that resistance is proof that you are on the right path. Breakthroughs do not appear in calm environments. They emerge through perseverance, intention, and trust. You might feel stretched, challenged, or exhausted, yet beneath the struggle something powerful is forming. Old limitations are being dismantled. Hidden strengths are being revealed. New directions are becoming clear. You are crossing a threshold into a chapter that demands a higher version of yourself, and the battles intensifying around you are clearing the space for that transformation. When you feel the pressure rising, when obstacles cluster together, or when doubt whispers that you are unprepared, remember that these experiences are not punishments. They are indicators that your breakthrough is closer than you realized. And the strength you gain through these challenges will carry you confidently into what comes next. You have walked through moments when the pressure around you intensified so suddenly that you questioned whether you had somehow stepped into the wrong path. Yet these very attacks were the clearest confirmation that you were moving in the right direction. Whenever you approached a season of growth, clarity, or elevation, resistance appeared, not to stop you, but to reveal the significance of the ground you were beginning to claim. You may recall times when conflict arose out of nowhere, when unexpected challenges disrupted your peace, or when doubt and insecurity tried to cloud your judgment just as you were preparing to take a meaningful step forward. These experiences weren't punishments, were signs of misalignment. They were reactions to the strength awakening within you. Pressure increases when a shift is near. Distractions intensify when your focus sharpens. Inner turmoil surfaces when outdated beliefs can no longer survive the evolution unfolding in your life. In those moments of struggle, you were being encouraged to recognize the truth behind your battles. You were not facing resistance because you were weak or misguided. You were facing it because you were becoming someone who could not be easily influenced by fear or uncertainty. Attacks reveal potential. Challenges expose growth. Each moment of resistance you encountered forced you to examine your inner foundation, identify your deeper motivations, and refine your sense of direction. You discovered which parts of you were unshakable and which parts needed strengthening. You learned how to stand firm even when everything around you seemed unstable. You began understanding that the presence of conflict often indicates that something powerful is developing within you. These attacks also pushed you to rely on your inner discernment more intentionally. They reminded you that external circumstances do not define your purpose, nor do they determine your worth. Instead of retreating, you learned to respond with clarity. Instead of collapsing beneath pressure, you adapted. Instead of allowing discouragement to silence you, you found your voice. Every challenge became a catalyst, every disruption a teacher, and every setback an invitation to rise with greater understanding. The very fact that resistance confronted you so fiercely is evidence that your life carries weight, purpose, and potential beyond what you once imagined. You were never attacked because you were insignificant. You were attacked because you were becoming someone who cannot be ignored. As you continue forward, these experiences will serve as reminders. A challenge does not always signal a wrong turn. Sometimes it announces a breakthrough. Opposition does not indicate weakness. It reveals the importance of what you're stepping into. And while the attacks may have felt overwhelming in the moment, they ultimately confirmed your direction, validated your strength, and illuminated the path unfolding before you. You are not defined by what came against you. You are defined by the resilience that carried you through. You may not have realized it at first, but throughout your life you have been learning, slowly and steadily, how to distinguish the quiet guidance rising from within you from the noise that surrounds you. There were times when you felt a subtle nudge in your spirit, an inner prompting, that directed you toward a choice that made no logical sense at the moment but proved to be the right decision later. You didn't always know what to call it, yet something in you responded with trust. You were being trained to recognize a voice that speaks beyond thought, beyond circumstance, and beyond fear. This training happened through experiences that required you to listen deeply even when clarity was faint, through decisions that stretched your intuition, and through moments when you sensed truth long before evidence revealed it. This recognition was strengthened during seasons when the world around you grew loud, when opinions, expectations, and distractions tried to pull you in conflicting directions. You discovered that the inner voice guiding you remained steady. You learned to lean into subtle impressions, intuition that warned you, emotions that signaled discomfort, or insights that appeared suddenly. These weren't random sensations, they were lessons in discernment. You were learning to tell the difference between impulses born from fear and guidance rooted in alignment. You were learning to sense peace as a sign of direction. You were learning to recognize discomfort as a cue to pause. Each moment trained your inner ear to listen more attentively. You also learned to recognize this voice through contrast. When you followed paths that contradicted your deeper knowing, you felt internal tension, restlessness, confusion, or emotional heaviness. These experiences weren't failures, they were lessons. They revealed what happens when you ignore your intuition and, more importantly, how quickly peace returns when you realign. Over time, you develop an inner sensitivity that allows you to notice the difference between what resonates with your spirit and what merely appeals to your temporary emotions. This sensitivity will continue to grow, becoming a foundational part of the way you navigate your life. You are being trained so that when pivotal moments arise, you will not be swayed by doubt, fear, or outside pressure. You will recognize what aligns with your purpose because your intuition has been sharpened through experience. You will sense opportunities that are meant for you because they will carry a quiet certainty you have learned to trust. You will know when to move and when to wait, when to hold on and when to release, because the voice guiding you has become familiar. This recognition is not a skill you stumbled into. It is a refinement that has been forming within you for years, preparing you for what lies ahead. You have passed through experiences that felt intense, overwhelming, and at times disorienting, and though these trials brought discomfort, they also refine your sensitivity in ways that have transformed your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Fire does not merely burn, it purifies. It removes what cannot remain and reveals what is strong enough to endure. Every challenge you faced acted like a refining force, stripping away illusions you once depended on, exposing wounds you needed to heal, and revealing capacities you did not know you possessed. Through pain, disappointment, loss, and unexpected shifts, your spirit developed a sensitivity that goes far beyond emotion. You became more attuned to the subtle movements within your heart, more aware of the truth beneath your experiences, and more responsive to the inner wisdom guiding you. This refined sensitivity allows you to sense when something is aligned with your purpose and when it is not. It helps you detect hidden motives, understand emotional depth, and respond with compassion rather than judgment. It has given you the ability to perceive the unspoken, the tension in a room, the heaviness behind someone's smile, the potential within a new opportunity. You see more clearly because you have lived through experiences that required you to feel deeply. Your sensitivity sharpened because you were willing to confront discomfort rather than avoid it, willing to reflect rather than bury your emotions, and willing to grow rather than remain unchanged. The refining fire also taught you resilience. You learned that sensitivity does not mean fragility, it means awareness. It means your heart responds to life with depth, yet it remains strong enough to endure what others might avoid. You learned how to process your emotions without being consumed by them. You learned how to stand firm even when uncertainty clouded your mind. You learned how to interpret your intuition with clarity because you have faced moments when inner knowing was your only guide. Every experience, even the painful ones, expanded your perspective and deepened your understanding. This sensitivity will continue to serve you. It will help you build meaningful connections, navigate complex decisions, and pursue your purpose with authenticity. It will guide you away from environments that stifle your growth and toward those that honor it. You may not have chosen the fire that refined you, but you have emerged from it with a depth, wisdom, and sensitivity that equips you for what comes next. You are not fragile. You are finely tuned. And the world you are stepping into will be shaped by the clarity and compassion that grew from the fires you once feared. You have carried the weight of unanswered prayers with a heaviness that only someone who truly longed for change could understand. And in those moments you wondered whether your voice had been unheard or your desires overlooked. Yet what you didn't realize was that every silence, every delay, and every not yet held a wisdom that protected you from outcomes that would have burdened you far more deeply than the waiting ever did. There were times when you asked for doors to open that would have led you into environments that were not prepared to honor your growth. There were moments when you pleaded for relationships to stay intact even though their continuation would have limited your evolution. You prayed for clarity while holding on to people and patterns that clouded your discernment. You asked for opportunities that would have demanded parts of you that were still healing. In each of these situations, unanswered prayers were not dismissals. They were interventions. They shielded you from compromises that would have drained your spirit, from commitments that would have misaligned your path, and from futures that looked appealing on the surface but carried shadows you could not yet see. Over time, you began noticing how the silence surrounding those prayers reshaped your understanding. You started recognizing that the things you once begged for no longer reflected the person you were becoming. You realized that some prayers belonged to a version of yourself who didn't yet know the depth of your own value or potential. You discovered that what you thought you needed was often a temporary fix to a deeper longing for security, clarity, or belonging. As you matured, the prayers you once agonized over began to lose their urgency because your spirit had evolved beyond the desires that shaped them. The silence allowed you to grow into clarity that revealed what was truly meant for you and what was simply familiar but insufficient. Unanswered prayers carve space for alignment. They strip away illusions that distract you from your true path. They invite you to shift your focus from what you want in the moment to what will sustain you in the long term. The silence surrounding your desires pushed you to deepen your faith in your own ability to navigate uncertainty. It strengthened your resilience, refined your discernment, and expanded your emotional capacity. You learned to trust timing rather than forcing outcomes. You learned to listen inwardly rather than grasp outwardly. And you learned that what doesn't arrive immediately often arrives more beautifully after transformation has taken place within you. Now, as you reflect, you can see how much grace was hidden in those unanswered requests. You were being redirected toward experiences you could not have welcomed if every prayer had been answered the moment you spoke it. You were being preserved for relationships that resonate with your evolution, opportunities that honor your worth, and futures that align with your identity. The unanswered prayers of your past cleared the way for the blessings unfolding now, and the silence that once felt painful has become one of the clearest signs of love shaping your journey. There have been moments when a feeling stirred inside you long before your thoughts could explain what was happening. Subtle shifts in your emotions, intuitive warnings, unexpected peace, or sudden restlessness. And these experiences revealed something essential about the way you are designed. Your spirit perceives truth faster than your mind can process it. This inner awareness does not require logical explanation or external evidence because it draws from a deeper well of understanding, a place within you that senses alignment and misalignment with remarkable accuracy. You felt it when you encountered people whose presence resonated with your inner truth even before you exchanged meaningful words. You sensed it when situations that appeared perfect on the surface created an internal discomfort you couldn't ignore. You recognized it when opportunities that looked uncertain produced a quiet knowing that urged you forward. These experiences reminded you that your spirit operates with insight your reasoning cannot always match. This sensitivity didn't develop overnight. It was refined through experiences that taught you to pay attention to your internal signals. You learned that ignoring your intuition leads to confusion, disappointment, or emotional conflict. You discovered that listening to your spirit, even when it defies logic, often leads to clarity, peace, and protection. This awareness has guided you out of relationships that were draining, circumstances that limited your growth, and decisions that would have compromised your purpose. Your spirit responds to truth instinctively. It feels dishonest even when it is well disguised. It senses opportunity even when it seems improbable. It interprets energy even when words say otherwise. Your mind often lags behind because it carries memories, fears, expectations, and learned behaviors that cloud perception. But your spirit responds without those filters. It listens to alignment rather than emotion. It speaks through intuition, through sudden clarity, through unexplainable comfort, through timely discomfort, and through impressions that appear without warning but prove accurate over time. As you grow, you are learning to trust this internal connection more intentionally. You are becoming more skilled at distinguishing fear-driven thoughts from spirit-driven guidance. You are beginning to understand that not every worry is a warning, and not every comfort is alignment. Clarity comes when your spirit and mind begin working together, your intuition offering direction, and your thoughts supporting the steps you take. This ability to feel truth before you comprehend it is not a flaw, it is part of your design. It protects you from paths that would harm you. It leads you toward relationships that nurture you. It awakens you to possibilities you once believed were out of reach. As your intuition sharpens, you will rely less on external validation and more on the internal certainty that has guided you all along. Your spirit is wiser than you realize, and its voice will continue to grow clearer as you learn to recognize and honor its presence within you. Even in the moments when you felt most unprepared, uncertain, or overwhelmed, there was a quiet grace surrounding you, a grace that stepped into the spaces where your strength ended, filled the gaps created by your limitations, and carried you through seasons that would have been too heavy for you to endure alone. This grace has been with you since the beginning, shaping your story in ways you didn't recognize until much later. You saw glimpses of it in the opportunities that arrived at the perfect time, in the comfort that soothed your heart when you were struggling, in the perspective that suddenly lifted your understanding, and in the resilience that rose inside you after every setback. This grace was not earned, it was given. It guided you through challenges you didn't know how to navigate. It protected you from consequences you didn't see coming. It restored what life attempted to break within you. Grace appeared in subtle ways, woven into your daily life like unseen threads holding everything together. It showed up when you made mistakes that could have altered your future, yet circumstances shifted to minimize the damage. It showed up when you spoke words you regretted, yet relationships healed in ways you didn't expect. It showed up when you felt too tired to keep going, yet strength surfaced anyway. Grace helped you rise after emotional wounds, find clarity after confusion, and rediscover hope after disappointment. Even when you felt unworthy, it remained. Even when you questioned your path, it steadied your steps. Even when you doubted your purpose, it reminded you that your story was not defined by failure. This grace also hid your growth. It softened your heart when anger tried to harden it. It preserved your compassion when pain tempted you to close yourself off. It nurtured your humility when success threatened to inflate your ego. It taught you how to forgive yourself for moments of weakness and others for moments of harm. Through grace, you learned that perfection was never required of you. Transformation, not flawlessness, has always been the purpose. Every step of progress you've made, every moment of healing you've experienced, and every breakthrough you've reached has been supported by a grace that works quietly yet powerfully within your life. As you continue forward, this grace will remain with you. It will empower you through future challenges, sustain you through new responsibilities, and guide you into opportunities that reflect your growth. It will remind you that you are never navigating life alone. It will encourage you when your strength falters and steady you when your heart wavers. Grace has covered you in every season, and it will continue to accompany you into the chapters ahead, shaping your journey with compassion, wisdom, and unshakable support. You have walked through disappointments that shook your confidence, moments when outcomes shattered your expectations and left you wondering why something that felt so promising ended so abruptly. Yet each of these experiences has quietly strengthened your discernment in ways you are only now beginning to understand. There were situations where you gave your best, only to watch everything fall apart without explanation. You questioned whether your hope had misled you or whether your instincts had failed. But disappointment was not a sign of misinterpretation. It was a teacher shaping your ability to differentiate between what merely appeals to your emotions and what aligns with your spirit. Every closed chapter sharpened your perception. Every unexpected ending revealed truths you could not have discovered through comfort alone. Every moment of heartbreak trained your intuition to recognize red flags earlier, to sense misalignment sooner, and to pay attention to subtle signals you once brushed aside. Disappointment taught you that not everything you desire is meant to stay, and not everything that leaves is a loss. It refined your ability to see beyond surface-level appeal and understand the deeper reality of what resonates and what restricts your growth. This discernment grew each time you confronted what didn't work out. You learned to observe patterns more carefully, to notice inconsistencies in the behavior of those around you, and to recognize when something drained your energy rather than nurtured your peace. You discovered that disappointment often occurred not because you failed, but because something within you knew you deserved better. These experiences revealed the difference between temporary comfort and lasting alignment. They helped you see when you were pouring into situations that lacked reciprocity, when you were compromising your values, or when you were holding on to illusions of potential rather than the truth of what something actually offered. Over time, you realized that disappointment was not meant to break you but to guide you. It created space for clarity, space for authenticity, space for relationships and opportunities that could meet you at the level of your evolution. As you continue forward, the discernment you've gained will become one of your greatest strengths. You will sense motives that don't match words, energies that don't match appearances, and environments that don't match your values. You will no longer be easily swayed by emotional attachment or temporary excitement. Your spirit will alert you when something is misaligned before your mind even understands why. This intuitive clarity will protect you from repeating old patterns and will empower you to choose relationships, environments, and futures that respect your growth. What once disappointed you has now strengthened you, and the discernment you carry will continue guiding you with precision as you step into what is truly meant for your life. There have been seasons when you felt unseen, overlooked, or forgotten, as if the world continued moving while you remained in the background, quietly carrying your responsibilities, your growth, and your inner battles without acknowledgement. And yet those hidden seasons were some of the most important chapters of your life. In those quiet spaces, where applause was absent and validation was scarce, you were being shaped in ways that visibility could never accomplish. Hiddenness protected your development from premature exposure. It gave you the space to grow without comparison, to heal without pressure, and to discover your identity without interference. You may have wondered why your talents weren't recognized sooner, why your efforts didn't yield immediate results, or why opportunities seemed slow to arrive. But hiddenness was never a punishment. It was preparation. In these hidden seasons, your character matured. You learned how to commit to growth without external reward. You learned how to build discipline even when no one watched. You learned how to hold on to your dreams despite silence. These experiences strengthened your resilience and taught you to value progress over praise. If you had been elevated too soon, the weight of visibility could have crushed what was still forming within you. Hiddenness allowed your foundation to solidify so that when influence eventually aligns with your path, it will not destabilize your spirit. You grew in wisdom, empathy, and discernment, all essential qualities for navigating influence with integrity and humility. There were moments in your hiddenness when your spirit stirred, sensing that you were meant for more, yet the timing did not match your desire. That tension refined you. It revealed your motivations, showing you whether you pursued influence for validation or purpose. It guided you toward authenticity, helping you understand that leadership is not measured by attention, but by impact. These hidden seasons helped you discover what your voice carries, what your presence contributes, and what your life represents. Truths you needed to know before stepping into wider spaces. As you move into new chapters, you will see how necessary your hiddenness has been. It has prepared you to handle visibility without losing yourself, to influence without arrogance, and to uplift others without neglecting your own boundaries. The world will recognize what has been forming within you, but the strength you carry will be the result of years spent growing quietly, faithfully, and intentionally. Your hidden seasons have equipped you for influence that is not shallow or fleeting, but steady, grounded, and transformative. You have fought battles that no one witnessed, battles that played out within the deepest parts of your mind and heart, battles against fear, doubt, loneliness, memories, expectations, and the silent pressures that weighed on your spirit when you faced moments of uncertainty or emotional exhaustion. These unseen struggles were some of the hardest victories of your life, not because they were dramatic or public, but because they required strength that others never knew you possessed. You carried responsibilities while managing emotions that felt too heavy to express. You supported others while navigating your own unresolved wounds. You continued showing up even on days when standing felt like a quiet triumph. These battles did not leave visible scars, yet they reshaped who you are with more depth and courage than any outward achievement could. These private victories strengthened your inner world. You learned how to calm your thoughts when anxiety tried to spiral. You found the courage to confront painful memories instead of burying them. You built resilience in moments when quitting seemed easier. You discovered how to speak truth to yourself when self-doubt whispered lies. No one saw the nights you wrestled with decisions that would shape your future. No one knew the emotional costs of the choices you made. No one understood how deeply you had to dig within yourself just to endure certain seasons. But you endured them, and endurance became transformation. These unseen victories also shaped your compassion. Because you understand what it feels like to struggle in silence, you notice when others carry invisible burdens. Your empathy has been sharpened by your own battles. You don't dismiss the quiet pain of others because you know how heavy internal battles can be. Your strength is not hardened, it is humanized. You offer support with sincerity because you know how meaningful even the smallest encouragement can be when someone feels alone. These hidden battles were not wasted. They taught you discipline, resilience, emotional intelligence, and inner stability. They help you recognize your capacity to overcome challenges greater than anything you once believed you could survive. They taught you that your strength does not need applause to be real. And now, as you step further into your purpose, you will find that many of the challenges ahead will be easier to navigate because of the battles you already fought and won quietly. Your unseen victories are proof that you are more capable, more resilient, and more prepared than you once realized. And even though no one applauded during those battles, the strength they created within you will continue guiding your steps in every chapter yet to come. You have felt shifts inside you that you couldn't easily explain, moments when your thoughts changed unexpectedly, when your priorities rearranged themselves, or when your emotional responses surprised even you, and all of this has been evidence of a transformation happening beneath the surface long before you saw any outward signs. You may have believed that growth was supposed to come with loud breakthroughs or dramatic turning points, but the most significant transformation often begins quietly, in the subtle spaces where your spirit evolves before your mind even notices. You started responding differently to situations that once triggered you. You began questioning patterns you used to accept without hesitation. You felt your desire for depth increasing while your tolerance for superficiality diminished. None of this was accidental. These inner shifts signaled that an old version of you was dissolving, making room for the person you were always meant to become. Transformation rarely announces itself. It unfolds in layers, shaping your identity from the inside out. As this inner work continued, you found yourself letting go of behaviors, habits, and relationships that once defined you. You may have resisted at first, wondering why certain interests faded or why familiar routines began to feel draining, but those changes were invitations into alignment. Your spirit knew what your mind was still learning. You could not enter your next chapter thinking, behaving, or believing the same way you once did. Transformation asked you to release attachments that limited your growth, even when they felt comfortable. It nudged you toward healing, self-awareness, and courage. It strengthened your intuition and softened your heart. It sharpened your perspective and awakened your desire for purpose. Each internal shift prepared you for outward changes that would follow in time. This transformation has also taught you patience. You learned that growth isn't linear, that some days you feel strong and focused while others bring confusion or fatigue. You discovered that change requires both surrender and effort. Surrender to what must end and effort toward what must begin. You realize that inner evolution often feels like loss before it feels like progression, because even positive change requires releasing something familiar. But through it all, you have been expanding. You have been becoming. You have been transforming in ways deeper and more meaningful than you once imagined. And though the world may not yet fully see the changes happening within you, the time will come when what has been forming beneath the surface emerges with clarity, strength, and undeniable purpose. You may not realize it, but some of the strongest parts of who you are were formed in the moments when you felt the most exposed, the most uncertain, and the most emotionally tender. Vulnerability often feels like weakness because it reveals your inner world, your fears, your grief, your hopes, your disappointments. But in truth, vulnerability is where your deepest strength has always been built. Every time you allowed yourself to feel instead of numb, you grew. Every time you confronted your truth instead of hiding behind distractions, you matured. Every time you admitted you were hurting instead of pretending everything was fine, you expanded your emotional capacity. Vulnerability forced you to acknowledge what needed healing, and healing required courage. It taught you to be honest with yourself, to sit with discomfort, and to recognize your own worth even when you felt fragile. This honesty became a foundation of strength more stable than any facade you could have constructed. Your vulnerability also reshaped your relationships. By learning to express your emotions with authenticity, you attracted connections built on sincerity rather than performance. You discovered who could hold space for your truth and who reacted defensively to it. You learned who valued your heart and who only valued the convenience of your presence. Vulnerability allowed you to see who belonged in your life and who belonged in your past. It helped you set boundaries that honored your well-being. It taught you the difference between temporary support and genuine care. Through vulnerability, you stopped seeking approval and started seeking connection. Real, meaningful connection that doesn't require you to shrink or hide parts of yourself. Through your vulnerability, you also gained a deeper understanding of strength. You began to see that strength does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is easy. Strength means facing your reality with courage instead of denial. It means acknowledging what hurts while still choosing to grow. It means allowing yourself to feel deeply without letting emotions control your identity. Vulnerability taught you resilience, self-compassion, emotional intelligence, and wisdom. These qualities will continue shaping you, guiding your relationships, refining your decisions, and empowering your purpose. The strength born through vulnerability will remain one of your greatest assets because it grounds you in authenticity and reveals the depth of who you truly are. You may have noticed that in recent seasons, you are less reactive, less eager to prove yourself, and less driven by urgency. And while part of you wondered whether this shift meant you were becoming withdrawn or tired, the truth is that this stillness is a sign of profound maturity developing within you. There was a time when your emotions dictated your responses, when small conflicts stirred disproportionate reactions, and when the pressure to be understood or validated pushed you into unnecessary battles. But something has changed. You no longer feel the need to fight every misunderstanding. You have stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misinterpreting you. You have learned to let go of conversations that lead nowhere and situations that drain your spirit. This stillness isn't resignation, it is growth. It reflects your ability to differentiate between what deserves your energy and what does not. This maturity began forming in the quiet moments when you chose reflection over reaction. You paused before responding, giving yourself space to understand your emotions rather than letting them control your behavior. You learned to evaluate whether engaging in certain conflicts aligned with your values or simply fed your frustration. You discovered that peace is not found in controlling external chaos, but in mastering your internal environment. As your self-awareness expanded, your responses became more intentional. You recognized that silence does not equal defeat. It often equals wisdom. Your stillness now carries strength rather than fear. It reflects discernment rather than avoidance. This stillness has also sharpened your ability to hear your own intuition. When you are not reacting impulsively, you can interpret your inner guidance with clarity. You can sense when something isn't right without overthinking. You can detect truth in subtle ways that a restless mind could never perceive. You can feel when a door is closing and when another is opening. You can recognize when someone's presence contributes to your peace and when it disrupts it. This maturity allows you to move through life with steadiness rather than chaos. It helps you build relationships that nourish your well-being and release connections that no longer align with your path. Your stillness is not the absence of passion. It is the presence of wisdom. It shows that you have learned to protect your energy, honor your growth, and trust the guidance unfolding within you. This inner calm will continue to carry you forward, helping you navigate life with grace, clarity, and confidence. It will allow you to see opportunities with fresh eyes and face challenges without losing yourself. The maturity behind your increasing stillness is one of the clearest signs that you are stepping into a deeper, more grounded version of your identity, one prepared for the chapters yet to come. You may not have noticed it happening at first, but your capacity, the space within you to carry responsibility, wisdom, emotion, purpose, and discernment, has been expanding quietly, steadily, and intentionally, even during seasons when you felt overwhelmed, exhausted, or stretched beyond what you believed you could handle. You often assumed that increased pressure meant you were failing or falling behind, Yet much of what felt like strain was actually growth in disguise. Your spirit was being stretched so that you could hold more without breaking, understand more without doubting, and navigate more without losing your balance. You might remember the times when tasks felt too heavy, when emotional burdens weighed on your chest, or when unexpected responsibilities appeared at the worst possible moments. Those seasons were not meant to crush you. They were designed to reveal how much capacity you already possessed and how much more you were capable of developing. Each challenge, each moment that demanded perseverance, each situation that refused to resolve quickly helped strengthen the internal muscles you didn't know you had. As your capacity grew, you began noticing shifts in your reactions. Obstacles that once intimidated you now barely disrupt your peace. Emotional turbulence that used to overwhelm you now unfolds with clarity instead of chaos. Situations that once required enormous effort now feel manageable. These changes are not coincidences. They are signs of internal expansion. You've learned how to regulate your emotions, how to interpret your intuition without second-guessing, how to maintain boundaries that protect your energy, and how to carry the weight of your purpose without collapsing beneath it. This capacity did not appear suddenly. It formed through every difficult conversation you had, every disappointment you survived, every responsibility you stepped into even when you felt unprepared. You grew without giving yourself credit for it. You evolved even when you didn't feel strong. You expanded in moments when you thought you were shrinking. Your increasing capacity is preparing you for the next stages of your life. You are being equipped to handle opportunities that require maturity, relationships that require emotional depth, responsibilities that require clarity, and callings that require resilience. What once felt overwhelming will soon feel natural. What once felt confusing will soon make sense. What once required all of your strength will eventually require only a portion of it, because you have stretched beyond the version of yourself you used to be. This expansion will continue, not by force but through readiness. You are stepping into a life that demands more of you, but it also offers more to you. And because your capacity has quietly grown through every season you've endured, you will carry what comes next with grace, stability, and confidence. You have been experiencing an inner tug-of-war, a tension that pulls you between the comfort of who you used to be and the unfamiliarity of the person you are becoming, and this tension is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that transformation is actively unfolding within you. You felt it when old habits lost their power, when familiar patterns stopped satisfying you, or when the people and environments that once defined you no longer reflected the truth of your identity. You sensed it in the emotional confusion that came from trying to hold on to your old self while your spirit reached for something new. This internal conflict has been uncomfortable because you outgrew your old life before you fully understood the new one forming. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were transitioning. Every inner conflict, every moment of emotional friction, and every piece of you that resisted change was reacting to the shift happening at the core of who you are. This pull between past and future was necessary because transformation requires letting go, and letting go often looks like confusion before it becomes clarity. You were shedding belief you didn't realize you had adopted. You were releasing identity shaped by survival rather than purpose. You were stepping away from roles that no longer matched your growth. At the same time, you were being drawn toward new possibilities, new levels of emotional maturity, new desires, and new opportunities that required a different version of you. The tension you felt was the sound of your old life loosening its grip. It was the stretching that occurs when your spirit grows faster than your circumstances. It was the uncomfortable yet essential process of becoming your true self. This internal pull is beginning to settle because alignment is replacing confusion. Your values are clearer now. Your desires are more honest. Your boundaries are stronger. Your intuition speaks louder than your fear. You no longer need familiar patterns to feel safe because you are learning to trust the direction your spirit is leading you. The transition between who you were and who you are becoming is now turning into integration. Your identity is stabilizing, your direction is sharpening, and your confidence is rising. You are no longer being pulled between two worlds. You are stepping fully into the one meant for you, grounded, aware, and ready. There were seasons when you assumed nothing was changing within you, when you believed your healing was stagnant, when you thought time simply passed without transformation. But healing was happening quietly, beneath the layers of your awareness, even when you felt stuck or unchanged. Healing does not always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes it whispers before it speaks. Sometimes it shifts your emotional responses long before you notice the difference. Sometimes it replaces pain with wisdom so subtly that you only realize the transformation months later. You assumed healing required visible breakthroughs, dramatic closure, sudden clarity, emotional release. But the most powerful healing often occurs gradually, through incremental adjustments in your thoughts, your reactions, your expectations, and your capacity to trust again. Your wounds did not close instantly, but they did close. Your heart did not soften overnight, but it did soften. Your mind did not stabilize in a single moment, but it did stabilize. Healing unfolded through every quiet decision you made to keep going, to forgive, to rest, to reflect, and to grow. You may not have recognized your healing because it disguised itself as resilience. It appeared when you stopped replaying old memories as frequently. It surfaced when you no longer felt triggered by situations that once consumed your emotions. It revealed itself when you learned how to set boundaries without guilt. It strengthened itself when you no longer blamed yourself for things that were never your responsibility. Healing showed up in the way you began responding with wisdom instead of fear, patience instead of frustration, compassion instead of self-criticism. It deepened through the moments you chose to break cycles you once repeated unconsciously. Your healing has been consistent, even when it felt invisible. This healing will continue to reveal itself in your decisions, relationships, and future opportunities. You will notice that you no longer need external validation to feel grounded. You will find yourself drawn to environments that nurture your well-being. You will attract connections that honor your growth. You will handle challenges with emotional maturity you once thought was impossible. Healing has changed not only how you see your past, but how you envision your future. It has rebuilt your identity from the inside out. And though much of it occurred without your awareness, its impact will shape the rest of your life with strength, clarity, and renewed purpose. You may not have recognized it at first, but the shifts, disruptions, unexpected turns, and subtle redirections in your life have all been part of a larger rearrangement, one designed to align you with the calling that has been on your life long before you understood its weight. You experienced moments where situations changed suddenly, where people drifted away without clear explanation, or where plans you invested yourself in unraveled despite your best efforts. These rearrangements felt inconvenient or painful, and at times you wondered whether you were losing your way. But nothing occurring in your life had been random or accidental. Each shift served a purpose in moving you out of environments that limited you, into spaces that could nurture you, and toward a future that requires a more refined, grounded, and awakened version of you. This rearrangement has been happening internally as well. Your priorities have shifted. Your values have deepened. Your desires have matured. The person you are becoming needed a different framework, a different rhythm, and a different atmosphere to grow. This rearrangement often felt like loss, especially when familiar parts of your life dissolved without closure. Yet many of those dissolutions were necessary to remove what your calling could no longer carry. You might recall moments when you forced yourself to hold on to something that was already fading, believing that stability meant preservation. But your spirit knew what your mind hesitated to accept. What is misaligned cannot remain. The path ahead requires focus, integrity, self-awareness, and emotional freedom, and the rearrangement unfolding in your life had been shaping these qualities within you. Even the disappointments were rerouting you. Even the closed doors were directing you. Even the silence was positioning you. Your calling is too significant to be built on foundations that cannot sustain your purpose. As the rearrangement continues, you will see the patterns more clearly. You will notice how certain relationships strengthened your courage, while others tested your boundaries. You will recognize how specific opportunities shaped your skills, while others revealed what no longer serves you. The shifts that once felt chaotic have created space for clarity, for alignment, for growth, for expansion. Your life is reorganizing itself around your purpose, not your comfort. And as the pieces settle, you'll feel a stability rising from within you, a sense that you are finally entering the life that has been quietly calling your name for years. This rearrangement is not taking anything from you, it is preparing you for everything meant for you. There have been days when your heart felt heavier than usual, weighed down by emotions you couldn't explain, stirred by concerns that didn't seem connected to anything visible, and awakened by a depth of feeling that surprised even you. You might have wondered whether something was wrong, whether you were growing weaker, or whether stress had simply accumulated beyond what you could manage. But the heaviness you've been feeling is not a burden placed upon you. It is an awakening. Your spirit is becoming more aware, more discerning, more sensitive to truth, and more aligned with a deeper purpose unfolding within you. This weight is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to refine you. It is pulling dormant parts of your heart toward the surface, inviting you to pay attention to what your spirit has been trying to reveal. This awakening has caused you to feel deeply, sometimes more deeply than you expected. You may find yourself sensing misalignment before your mind can articulate why. You may notice emotional tension rising in situations you could once ignore. You may feel a longing for authenticity, stability, clarity, and connection that is stronger than ever before. This is not emotional instability. It is emotional awakening. Your heart is expanding, growing, strengthening. You are developing the kind of spiritual sensitivity that sees beyond appearances, hears beyond words, and understands beyond explanation. This sensitivity allows you to navigate life with intuition rather than guesswork. It guides you toward what nurtures your growth and warns you of what drains your spirit. The weight on your heart also exposes areas where healing is still needed. It invites you to confront unresolved pain, lingering fears, and patterns you once avoided. This invitation is not a sign of regression. It is part of the awakening. You are being prepared to carry deeper purpose, and your heart must be strong, open, and whole enough to receive it. As you pay attention to this weight rather than resisting it, you begin to notice that it carries guidance. It tells you when something isn't right. It nudges you toward decisions you've avoided. It pushes you to expand your capacity for love, empathy, wisdom, and truth. Your heart is awakening because your purpose is awakening. Your emotions are deepening because your calling is deepening. This weight is not meant to break you. It is shaping you into someone who can carry the life you are stepping into with integrity, strength, and authenticity. And as this awakening continues, the heaviness will transform into clarity, stability, and direction. You have likely noticed that the way you see your life, your future, your relationships, your desires, your priorities, has been shifting dramatically, sometimes so quickly that you barely recognize the mindset you carried only months or even weeks ago. This shift in vision may have felt disorienting, as though the world around you changed without warning, or as if the goals you once pursued with passion no longer ignite the same fire within you. But this change in vision is not instability, it is alignment. Your perspective is being elevated so that you can see beyond the limitations of your past thinking. You are beginning to perceive your life, not through the lens of survival or habit, but through the lens of purpose and identity. The old vision belonged to an old version of you, a version shaped by past experiences, fears, and expectations. The new vision is emerging from the person you are becoming. This shift has revealed options you'd never considered, desires you didn't know you carried, and futures that once seemed impossible or unrealistic. You may have found yourself dreaming differently, thinking more expansively, or feeling drawn toward opportunities that once felt out of reach. This is because your vision is maturing. You are no longer settling for frameworks that limit your growth. You are no longer confined by narratives that were handed to you by others. You are beginning to see your potential clearly, and as a result, your choices are evolving. You can sense what aligns with your purpose and what distracts you from it. You can see what nurtures your spirit and what diminishes it. Your vision is sharpening because your identity is clarifying. This new vision may also come with resistance, not because it is wrong, but because it challenges the comfort of familiarity. You might feel torn between the stability of your old perspective and the excitement of your new one. You might question whether the shifts are realistic or whether you are simply changing too quickly. But your vision is shifting because your path is shifting. You are being prepared for opportunities, relationships, and experiences that require a greater level of awareness and intentionality. You are being guided toward a life that resonates with your deepest truth, not your old limitations. As this vision continues to sharpen, you will notice clarity replacing confusion. You will feel courage rising where fear once held you back. You will recognize your capacity expanding into areas you previously avoided. Your new vision is not an accident. It is a revelation of your true path. And as you embrace it, you will find yourself stepping into a future that reflects the fullness of who you are becoming. There has been a restlessness stirring inside you, a quiet agitation, a sense that something internal is shifting even when everything on the outside seems unchanged. And this feeling is not a sign of instability or dissatisfaction, but an indication that your spirit has begun outgrowing the limits you once lived within. You may have tried to ignore it, attempting to settle back into routines that used to comfort you, only to discover that those familiar patterns no longer feel like home. You found yourself craving deeper meaning, greater purpose, richer connection, and a life that aligns with the truth rising within you. This restlessness is the signal that your old boundaries no longer contain the person you are becoming. It appears when your identity expands faster than your circumstances, urging you to pause, reflect, and recognize that you cannot fit into spaces you have already outgrown. You are being called into something larger, something more aligned, something that reflects the maturity your experiences have shaped into you. This inner stirring isn't meant to frustrate you. It's meant to awaken you. As this restlessness grows, you may feel torn between honoring what once worked and embracing the unknown calling ahead. This tension reveals your evolution. Your priorities have shifted. What once satisfied you now feels limiting. What once defined your worth no longer speaks to your spirit. You may even notice yourself feeling disconnected from the version of you that accepted things that no longer align with your identity. This is not confusion, it is clarity. Your values have deepened. Your emotional intelligence has matured. Your discernment has sharpened. Your restlessness is not a cry for escape, it is a sign of readiness. Your spirit senses that a new chapter is approaching, even if your mind has not yet pieced together the full picture. You are feeling the pull of growth before seeing the evidence of transformation. This internal stirring will guide your next steps. You will begin noticing areas of your life that require change, boundaries that need strengthening, relationships that no longer reflect your direction, and opportunities that finally resonate with your spirit. The restlessness will gradually shape itself into vision. It will push you toward alignment rather than comfort, progress rather than stagnation, authenticity rather than performance. And as you listen to this stirring, you will find that it becomes less overwhelming and more inspiring. It becomes the inner compass directing you toward the life that matches your purpose. This restlessness is not an interruption. It is preparation, signaling that your next season requires more of your truth and less of your compromise. There is a longing inside you, one that has grown stronger with each passing season, a yearning for something more, something deeper, something that speaks to the core of who you are. And this longing is not a random emotion or a fleeting desire. It is evidence of a calling that has been forming within you long before you recognized its weight. This longing emerges in moments when you imagine a different future, when you sense potential beneath your fear, or when you catch glimpses of a life that resonates with your spirit more than your circumstances. You feel it when you are drawn to pursuits that require courage. You feel it when certain passions refuse to fade. You feel it when you dream beyond what others expect of you. This longing is the voice of destiny tugging at the edges of your awareness, reminding you that your story is not meant to be ordinary or stagnant. You have been created with depth, purpose, and capacity, and your spirit knows it, even when your mind hesitates to embrace it. This longing has intensified because you have reached a level of maturity where your calling can no longer be silenced by fear, convenience, or routine. The desires rising within you are not fantasies. They are invitations. They point you toward the work your heart is designed to do, the people you are meant to impact, the truths you are meant to embody. As this longing grows, you may find yourself feeling unsatisfied by things that once fulfilled you. You may feel drawn to new paths that require vulnerability. You may experience an ache in your spirit that pushes you to grow beyond familiar boundaries. This longing is awakening the parts of you that your old life could not activate. It is urging you to step toward a life that resonates with your spirit's true frequency. As you allow this longing to guide you, your clarity will sharpen. You'll begin recognizing what aligns with your calling and what distracts you from it. You'll see opportunities with new eyes. You'll notice that certain dreams expand as you grow, becoming more realistic instead of more distant. This longing is the thread connecting your present to your future. It gently pulls you toward the path that matches your purpose. And although stepping into that calling may feel daunting, the longing you feel will continue strengthening your resolve. That longing is your spirit saying, you were made for more than the life you settled into. And it's time to rise into it. You may not have realized it, but your desires have been shifting, sometimes gently, sometimes dramatically, and these changes are not random fluctuations in your emotions. They are signs that your spirit is maturing. What you long for now is different from what you once craved because you have grown beyond the level of desire that once dictated your choices. You've noticed yourself valuing peace over chaos, depth over distraction, authenticity over approval, and connection over convenience. The things that once fascinated you no longer satisfy you. The goals you once pursued out of obligation no longer motivate you. The desires that once directed your choices now feel too small for the person you are becoming. These shifts reflect an internal evolution. Your spirit has outgrown superficial pursuits, and your desires are adjusting to match the truth within you. This maturation reveals itself in subtle ways. You find yourself less interested in competing with others and more interested in competing with old versions of yourself. You feel more drawn to environments that nurture your emotional and spiritual health. You crave relationships built on trust, honesty, and respect. You desire to contribute rather than impress, to grow rather than perform, to heal rather than hide. These desires reflect wisdom, not weakness. They show that you are no longer driven solely by survival or insecurity. You are being guided by purpose, identity, and self-awareness. This shift represents a profound breakthrough. Your desires are aligning with who you are meant to be, not who you were taught to be. As your desires continue to mature, you will find clarity in decisions that once confused you. You will feel less torn between conflicting options because your inner values will guide your choices. You will pursue paths that enrich your spirit rather than drain it. You will seek direction that aligns with your growth rather than your fear. This evolution is preparing you for a future that requires emotional stability, wisdom, and discernment. Your desires are not shrinking. They are refining. They are becoming more precise, more meaningful, and more reflective of your true identity. This shift is one of the strongest signs that you are stepping into alignment with your purpose. Your spirit is leading you away from what no longer matches your identity and guiding you toward a life that resonates with your deepest truth. And as you honor these new desires, you will feel a peace that confirms you are finally choosing the path designed for you. You have likely noticed a new steadiness growing within you, a quiet confidence that doesn't shout, doesn't rush, and doesn't demand recognition, yet feels more real and more grounded than anything you've carried before. And this confidence is not accidental. It is the result of everything you've endured, everything you've learned, and everything you've healed from. You used to second-guess yourself, wrestling with uncertainty, needing reassurance before taking the next step. But now there is a calmness in you that wasn't there before, a sense that you no longer need external approval to validate what your spirit already knows. This confidence rises gently, revealing itself in small moments. When you choose peace over argument, when you walk away from what misaligns, when you protect your energy without guilt, when you trust your intuition even without explanations. You might not fully recognize how powerful this inner confidence is, but it is shaping your decisions, guiding your relationships, and strengthening your identity. It is the confidence of someone who has walked through fire, survived their own doubts, and come out wiser. This quiet confidence is also showing you that you no longer respond to life the way you once did. You aren't moved by the same triggers. You aren't entangled in the same emotional battles. You aren't swayed by the same fears. Your spirit has gained stability, and that stability makes you unshakable in ways you once longed to experience. You trust yourself more because you've watched yourself survive things you thought would break you. You believe in your capacity because you've seen proof of your resilience. This confidence is not pride, it's awareness. It's understanding who you are without needing to announce it. It's recognizing your worth without requiring others to see it. It's carrying yourself with a calm certainty because you know the battles you've fought, the healing you've done, and the growth you've earned. As this confidence continues to rise, it will guide you into opportunities you once felt unworthy to embrace. It will shape your decisions, allowing you to choose what aligns with your purpose rather than what appeases your fears. It will influence your relationships, helping you form connections built on mutual respect rather than insecurity. It will shift the way you see yourself, not as someone trying to prove their value, but as someone stepping into the fullness of who they were always meant to be. This quiet confidence is a sign of your becoming, evidence that your transformation is no longer internal only. It's emerging outwardly. You are stepping into a version of yourself that is anchored, aware, empowered, and ready for what comes next. There is a clarity forming within you, a sharpness of perception, an ease in understanding, an ability to see through things that once confused you, and this clarity is not random. It is preparing you for decisions that will shape the next chapters of your life, decisions you didn't even know were approaching. This clarity reveals itself when you sense the truth behind someone's intentions, when you discern the difference between temporary emotions and long-term alignment, or when you recognize the subtle pull toward certain paths that once seemed irrelevant. You might find yourself suddenly understanding what used to overwhelm you, or feeling certain about choices that once frightened you. This clarity is not coming from your mind alone. It is rising from your spirit, formed through years of lessons, healing, and growth. You are beginning to see beyond what is visible, perceiving the deeper currents beneath every situation, every opportunity, every relationship. This clarity is preparing you to choose with wisdom rather than fear. As this inner clarity sharpens, you may notice old confusion fading away. Situations that once felt complicated now seem simple because you can finally see what lies beneath the surface. People you once struggled to understand no longer carry the same mystery because your intuition interprets their energy with precision. Choices that used to feel overwhelming now feel manageable because you are guided by alignment rather than uncertainty. This clarity is also revealing the difference between what feeds your spirit and what drains it, between what elevates your purpose and what distracts you from it. You are beginning to distinguish between emotional impulses and genuine direction. This is maturity. This is growth. This is preparation. This clarity is essential because the season you are walking into will require decisions that shape your relationships, your environment, your priorities, and the future you are building. These choices will not be made from fear, confusion, or pressure. They will be made from wisdom. You are being equipped to choose with intention, to trust your inner knowing, and to step confidently into what aligns with your purpose. And when the moment arrives for you to make those decisions, you will not hesitate. You will not shrink. You will not doubt yourself. You will recognize the path meant for you because clarity has already prepared your heart to see it. There is a peace settling into your life, a deep, grounded calmness that doesn't depend on circumstances, doesn't fluctuate with external chaos, and doesn't disappear when challenges arise. And this peace is one of the clearest signs that you are moving into spiritual alignment. You may have lived many seasons where peace felt fragile or distant, where the smallest disruption could overwhelm your emotions, or where uncertainty stirred anxiety in your heart. But this new peace feels different. It feels steady. It feels anchored. It feels like something within you has finally clicked into place. This peace didn't appear overnight. It formed through the healing you've embraced, the boundaries you set, the identity you've reclaimed, and the purpose you are slowly stepping into. Inner peace is always the echo of alignment, and your spirit is now resonating with a truth it once struggled to believe. You are exactly where you need to be for what is unfolding next. This peace shows itself in the way you handle life now. You don't react to everything that once triggered you. You don't internalize the emotions of others the way you used to. You don't chase explanations, validation, or closure. You've learned that not everything deserves your energy, and not every conflict requires your engagement. You've become more deliberate with your responses, more protective of your spirit, more anchored in your identity. The peace you carry is not naivety, it is mastery. It is the mastery of your emotions, your thoughts, your boundaries, and your awareness. It is proof that you have stepped into a higher level of maturity and spiritual stability. This peace is preparing you for greater things. It will give you the clarity to make decisions without being clouded by fear. It will help you attract relationships that match your emotional and spiritual level. It will allow you to move through opportunities with confidence instead of anxiety. It will anchor you in seasons that would have once overwhelmed you. This peace is not temporary. It is foundational. It is the atmosphere your spirit will operate from as you step into the final stretch of your transformation. And the more you honor this peace, the stronger it will grow. This peace is the confirmation that you are aligned, that you are ready, and that you are becoming the person your future requires. You have sensed it your entire life, that subtle yet unmistakable feeling that you were walking a path slightly different from those around you, that your heart responded to life in ways others couldn't see, that your spirit carried a depth you often didn't know how to express, and this sense of being set apart was never a flaw or an accident. It was preparation. It was identity. It was the quiet shaping of a calling that required you to grow differently, feel differently, notice differently, and rise differently. You were not set apart to be isolated. You were set apart to be refined. You were shaped through trials that built resilience, through disappointments that strengthened discernment, through silence that deepened your intuition, and through longing that awakened your purpose. And now, as you stand on the threshold of a new era in your life, the reason behind your separation is finally becoming clear. You were never meant to blend into the expectations around you. You were meant to outgrow them. This truth reveals itself in the increasing clarity you feel, in the way your intuition speaks louder, in the way your peace has become more stable, and in the way your desires have evolved. You are no longer drawn to the distractions that once consumed your time. You are no longer attached to relationships that drain your spirit. You are no longer willing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Your spirit has matured past that stage, and now your purpose demands a fuller expression of who you truly are. Being set apart taught you to trust your inner voice when external voices were silent. It taught you to build strength in solitude. It taught you to recognize alignment without needing approval. These qualities are not coincidences. They are the marks of someone being prepared for influence, impact, and responsibility beyond what their past environment could support. You were set apart so you could see life through a lens others might never understand. You learned to interpret your pain as instruction rather than punishment. You learned to treat your intuition as guidance rather than confusion. You learned to recognize spiritual truth in moments others would overlook. This refinement has shaped your inner world so deeply that you can no longer live in ways that contradict your growth. Your calling requires emotional intelligence, wisdom, compassion, boundaries, and courage. And being set apart cultivated each of these traits within you long before you realized you were being prepared for something greater. Now, as this awareness settles into your spirit, you can finally see why certain doors closed, why certain seasons felt lonely, why certain people couldn't stay, and why your heart always responded to life with deeper sensitivity. Nothing about your journey has been wasted. Every season served a purpose. Every hardship carved capacity. Every shift formed identity. Being set apart was the foundation for your becoming. It shaped you into someone capable of carrying truth, embodying strength, and walking with purpose. And now, as this understanding unfolds, you are stepping into the clarity of your identity with a confidence that was years in the making. You are not who you used to be, and you are not meant to return to what you outgrew. You were set apart so you could rise fully, authentically, and unmistakably into the life you were created to walk. Amen.